Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Clutch Conversations. It's your boy Mike. We back at you one more again. No, we're not live tonight. Tonight is a pre-recorded episode. We recorded this a few days earlier this week, but definitely appreciate everybody sliding through to check out the premiere of this episode. First and foremost, shout out to my lovely wife, Jakara. Really appreciate everything you do. Appreciate you holding the team down in general. Y'all definitely make sure y'all show us some love in the comments. Definitely don't stop there though. Show the channel some love. Hit this like button, hit that subscribe button, and hook smash that notification bell so you can get notifications each and every time we drop a video here on the channel. Shout out to the audio only gang as well. Appreciate all the love y'all showing us there on all the audio platforms. As you know, Clutch Conversations is available on all major podcasting platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Definitely make sure and check us out. And when you're checking us out on your favorite podcasting platform, please be sure to follow, rate, and leave us a review. We really appreciate the support. Really appreciate the feedback. Speaking of support, if you're involved in this reptile hobby in any shape, form, or fashion, make sure you're supporting US Art and US Art of Florida. The link for both of those organizations are in the description of this video. Definitely make sure you support those organizations because they help protect our rights as reptile keepers. If you're able to donate. If you got a membership, definitely make sure you renew your membership and make sure you spread the word, man. We need everybody who is involved in this reptile hobby, like I say, in any shape, form, or fashion, to definitely be supporting both US Art and US Art Florida. I'm gonna take a quick second to show some love to the sponsors, the homie Shane, the homie Justin. Really appreciate the support. We're gonna kick this sponsor video, kick this intro, and then we're gonna get into tonight's show. We got George from George Emde Reptiles. So really looking forward to that. And I can tell you, it's gonna be a blast. So make sure you stick around and check it out.
Big dreams start in small towns. Small Town Xotics is a family-ran business that specializes in high-quality ball python morphs, western hognoses, and select leopard geckos. They are proud members of US Art Florida, and the Orient Society. Stay connected with Small Town Xotics on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Witness their journey as they grow their business and showcase their animals to the world. Thank you, Small Town Xotics, for sponsoring the show.
Art comes in many forms. At Armless Angels, it comes to life.
Baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor, I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. You bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool. Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Mike?
Good. Glad to have you here. Glad we could finally work out the scheduling and whatnot.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I was looking forward to this, and it's been tough because we're both pretty busy in our own way. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. How's your weekend going?
Pretty good. You know, usual weekend, work my regular job, and then most of the day today was spent in the reptile building, cleaning cages, and still kind of unwinding a little bit from Daytona and organizing a little bit because, as we sell animals, we're always still shuffling things around. So still kind of getting everything. Usually that weekend after Daytona, everything's back to normal, So, but yeah, that was it. Just cleaning and going through some clutches. We had some more stuff hatch out while we were gone. So we're putting those babies up and just kind of preparing for more that are coming. So yeah, pretty busy day. And tomorrow will be the same.
Nice. Yeah, I know getting back last weekend. So we got back Sunday. We left Sunday afternoon, got back probably around, I don't know, let's say 3, 4, something like that. But anyway, getting back and just kind of getting back into the groove of things and like getting the cleaning done, getting the rodents clean and all that, and just kind of like catching up. Like I had a great time in Daytona, and I do it every weekend if I could. But you do have to get back into the routine and just like kind of like get things going back how like they normally go. And so yeah, we definitely had a lot of work when we got back.
Yeah, same here, man. It's like it's so much fun being there and hanging out with everybody. But that drive back home, once you get to that certain point past the Ocean Center, for me, I'm only 45 minutes away. But as I get closer to home, that's when the reality sets in. I got hundreds of animals to clean and feed, but we don't feed the week before Daytona. Just it's better that way, so we're not having a lot of messes. The water's fine, but we back off feeding that week before, just so we don't come home to a big mess, and we don't want the animals being in it. So we'll do that, and it's not quite as bad. Just organizing, unpacking, and all that. So, but it's worth it. I would do it every weekend if we could. It's a lot of fun hanging out with everybody there.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we did the same thing. Didn't feed the week before, just so we wouldn't have that big mess coming back.
Yep. Smart.
Yeah. Cool. So real quick before we get too deep into it, so tell us a little bit about your background. Is this your first podcast?
Second one.
Okay.
Yeah, I did one last year with MJ. So
okay, sweet.
Yeah, we did one. I grew up in Florida my whole life, and down in South Florida, we were around animals all the time. I was always catching reptiles, box turtles, ringneck snakes, things like that. And then, as I moved up to Central Florida when I was, I think, 7, still had the interest in reptiles. I always have. And a friend of ours, a friend of my dad's, had Xotics. And I had never seen exotic reptiles before, just a few things in a pet store. So he was doing small scale importing of exotic reptiles. And that was the first time I'd seen anacondas and reticulated pythons. And at that time in the 80s, you were seeing stuff come from all over the world, in one location. They would get African shipments, South American shipments, Indonesian shipments, all within 2 to 3 weeks. So you would see a variety of animals from all over the world. And it was fascinating to me to see all this stuff that I had only seen in books or on TV at some point. But then I started getting into the exotics a little bit more. So I've had reptiles my whole life. As far as the ball pythons, we had some in the late 90s. But there weren't any morphs at that point that were affordable. There was an albino. So we had some, but I always had a variety of reptiles, from colubrids to lizards, big pythons. We had berms and boas or ticks and stuff like that years ago, but kind of went smaller with the ball pythons. Big snakes were fun, but a lot of work trying to find food for them. I was by myself most of the time, and I didn't want to get a bad bite and have a problem. So it was nice to go down to a smaller python. But yeah, I've been keeping those now for over 20 years. As far as the morphs, we had them, like I said, back in the 90s. Sometimes they were a little difficult because they were all imported. Sometimes you would struggle with them to gain in the feed. But I think they basically just become domesticated at this point. They're so much easier to take care of now than they were, back then. So. But yeah, that's kind of my background. I did work on an alligator farm when I was young in high school. We hatched alligators. It was kind of fun. Yeah. So we hatched them, bred them. So I've always kind of been around reptiles at some point in my life.
And have you always been in the Florida area?
Yeah. Always South Florida or Central Florida. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Nice. Yep. So when you first started working with the ball pythons, was it just purely on a keeping perspective, or were you looking at breeding at that time?
I was kind of looking at trying to learn how to breed. The ones that we would get imported, a lot of the times they would come in gravid. Back then, they weren't really farming them as much. They would just ship everything in, babies and adults. So we would find the gravid females, and, you could get them pretty cheap. And then they'd lay eggs most of the time when we were hatching them out, but no one was really breeding them back then. So, but they were easy to hatch, a little different than some other python eggs. But Then as I started, it was around, I think, 2001, I wanted to start breeding them because I had bred a lot of other species of reptiles in the past. And they did fascinate me, seeing the albinos and seeing the pieds. It was definitely fascinating to me. So my plan was to, get my first morph that I purchased was an albino. And I think it was 2,500 at the time, which was a lot for me to spend for a snake. But I bought that snake and I bought a het and then just raised those up. And, that rest, I guess, is kind of history, kind of built it from just those two snakes, but it's fun, and as time gone on, I still always had interest in other animals because I do keep other species, too. I keep other species of pythons, tree monitors, colubrids. So it's not just ball pythons, but they do make up the bulk of my collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
So thinking back, like when you were first breeding, like did you just kind of do things by trial and error? Or did you have someone kind of like who had done it a little bit and gave you like tips and tricks? How that worked?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both because, some other python eggs were different to incubate. But in Central Florida, there was a really good group of old school guys, like old timers. So they had already done a lot of work, and they were already breeding stuff that wasn't common in the pet trade. Like, they were friends of mine at the time breeding Timor pythons and Indian pythons and things you just don't even really see that much now. So we already kind of had a network of old school guys because there really wasn't a lot of internet information back in the 90s and late 80s. You had to pick up the phone or meet somebody. It was a little bit different. Information wasn't as easily accessible as it is now. So I had a couple of old school Florida guys that kind of helped me out a little bit, and they learned from trial and error, building our own cages and learning how to incubate, without killing the eggs. So it was a little bit of both. And some of it was trial and error. I built my own incubators and I've made a few changes over the years, but they're pretty much the same as they were when I built them 20 years ago with just a few minor changes I made. But I guess a little bit of both.
Nice. Who are some of those old school folks that helped you out at the beginning?
I don't know if you'd even know any of them. There was some old guys from Florida. One guy's name was Larry Grosky. I'm trying to think of some of the other, Butch Tisher. There were some old school guys. Most of them aren't alive anymore. This goes back quite a ways. As far as the ball python guys, Dan Wolf was a pretty good guy. I worked with him early in about 2001. He helped me out a little bit. But like a lot of those old school guys used to go to the Central Florida Herp Society meetings, and those were organized by Wayne Hill, who does, the big show in Daytona. So he was always involved in reptile shows even before Daytona, and he had good speakers that would come up there. But a lot of the old school guys just met there and talked about, their experiences, what's working, what's not working. I mean, there were guys incubating python eggs over straight water back in the mid 80s, and it worked fine. They just elevated the eggs above water and they were hatching them out perfectly. And a lot of people would think, is that even possible? But it actually works really well. I don't do that now, but a lot of those old school guys, those pioneers kind of in Central Florida, figured out some really interesting ways to not only breed and hatch out eggs successfully pretty consistently, not just with ball pythons, but with a lot of other species of snakes. And a lot of it was just trial and error back then.
Nice. So when you first got into the morph game, you said it was albino was the first morph you started working with?
Yeah, I bought one albino ball python from Dan, and then a het, and then I'm trying to think of what I even got after that. I think I got like a few pastels after that. There wasn't much out there at the time that was under $10,000. Everything was so expensive. The market was booming, and I just wasn't that confident to spend that kind of money on a snake. But start off with the albinos, raised them up, and I was using at the time just a little styrofoam incubator that I had used to hatch other snakes out. So, I had some success with them. I did one clutch I ruined, and as it started to sink in, which is normal before hatching, I squirted it with water and I killed it. I just killed the whole clutch. Wow. Like, I can't do that again. So I kind of made a mistake, but after that, I've never had a mistake. I've never done that again. So, but I still use the same incubators I've been using for 20 years, and they work pretty well. But start off with just the albino, and I still have the female het that I purchased back then in 2001. I still have her now.
Oh, wow, nice.
I don't really breed her. I just keep her there, kind of sentimental value. But she's the only snake that I've had that long, and I still have her. So I just kind of hang on to her for that.
Nice. Yeah. So that's actually a good segue because you were talking about like spraying the water on the eggs, and so that ruined it. Because I did want to talk about like some of the challenges you had early on. So can you speak to some of the other challenges that you had early on?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. that was one at first for me, you know, was just keeping the eggs, you know, humid, but not getting them too wet. You know, for me, like some of the challenge, I had to build most everything myself. You know, I built my own racks. You know, I bought the tubs from friends, but I had to build everything myself. I was really limited on space, so I couldn't keep the animals that I wanted to keep. You know, back then, just trying to think, back then, like I say, the accessibility just wasn't there. You just couldn't go online and find what you wanted back then. Really trying to find animals back then could be difficult. You know, you really had to do a lot of legwork versus now. You can go on Morph Market and pretty much find anything you want, any species you want. It wasn't like that back then. And, you know, back in the 90s, most everything was imported. You know, I mean, there were people breeding, but not like now, you know, so much. I mean, you can get commercial style professional racks now delivered to your door, incubators delivered to your door. Back then, most everything was built. We had to build it ourselves. There were a few commercial grade racks, but they weren't really that great, you know. But now, I mean, you have racks for specific species, you know, it's so much. The technology has come so far in the last 20 years. It's so much easier to keep animals now than it was back then.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I heard like back in the day, they used to send around, like certain breeders used to send around like mailers basically and say, hey, we got this available. And then you say,
like, yeah, I used to get them all the time from Crutchfields, Strictly Reptiles. The problem was by the time you got it and you see the list, you hope that what you want was still there because you're like, crap, I can't get there till Saturday. And you call them up and say, hey, you still going to have those Indian pythons? Or you still going to have this? Because I'm 3 days away. But that's what they used to do. They would send out a mailer to you once you're on the mailing list. And you would see just all these really cool species. And like I said, you would just hope they were still there in 4 days when you got there. Because back then we would make a little road trips on the weekends, and we would hit 3 or 4 different importers, you know, just to see what they were getting in. And they were getting in at the time, some beautiful red-tailed boas from Suriname and Guyana.
Oh,
absolutely
nice.
stunning boas. And I'll never forget seeing those little babies come in, just pink and red, just really nice. But that's what I used to look for when I was going down there. I wasn't much in lizards back then, but and then you would see just thousands of ball pythons, thousands of emperor scorpions in these giant cattle tubs, which I'm not a big scorpion guy, but it was just unique to see all of that stuff. But yeah, they used to send the mailers out, and you just would rush over there as soon as you can, call your friend, say, hey, he's got this, let's get down there. You know, like I said, you hoped it was still there when you got there in 3 or 4 days, because you know that I got it. Everybody was getting it. Everybody was trying to rush over there to get it first. So yeah, that was a different time. You know, there was really no online sales at that time.
Nice road trip though.
That's what it was. It was a great time because you never knew what you were going to come back with. You know, we would go down to Miami or wherever and come back with bags of stuff, and you didn't know what you were going to find, you know, at the time, what kind of condition it was going to be. Or if you got really lucky, you were there when a shipment was being there unpacked. And that to me was like a golden ticket. Like when you see those crates come in, they're all like, oh, can I help? I just want to watch. I want to see what's coming out, you know, like I want that. But that didn't always work out, you know, sometimes because they would get the shipments in from Miami and then drive them back. But if you happen to be there when they were unloading the crate, man, it was like Christmas time. You know, you could see all the hand-picked cherry stuff that you could get out of there. It was really nice back then.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's one of the coolest things you picked up?
I'm trying to think one of the coolest things I picked up one time. This was back, I don't even know when this had to be probably mid to late 90s at Crutchfields. And he had on his list large adult water monitors. You know, I've always liked water monitors, and it said large. And me and my friend went down there, and they were massive. I mean, these things were like a full 7 feet and huge. And he had 2 of them, I forget. And the one was a little bit longer, but it was thin. But the one was just a beefy. And these were fresh imports. And you know, fresh imported monitors were usually a handful. But these, I'm guessing, they were what they call village lizards, where they just kind of hunt around people, and they weren't really afraid. And we picked it up, and that was one of the coolest things I've ever picked. I took it home, and I ended up getting that one. Ended up taking it home. But one thing I saw there, I'll never forget. I don't remember what species it was, but it was one of those giant soft shell turtles. And he had it in a tub, a big cattle tub. It had to be close to 80 or 90 pounds. It was massive. And I've seen big soft shells. I've held big turtles before, but this thing was, I think they said in the 80 to 90 pound range. I don't know where it came from, but that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But the coolest thing I took home was that giant water monitor. And I had it for years, and it was actually a very handleable lizard for coming, you know, straight out of the wild. But that was probably one of the most unique things. And everybody, my friends that saw it, they were shocked that it was so big and handleable at that size. It was instead of full 7 feet long, big lizard.
Nice. You said how How long?
It was a full 7 feet. I mean, it was
Oh,
a
wow.
big,
Yeah, that's pretty
bulky water
big.
monitor.
That's
It
a
was big.
big.
It was one of the biggest ones I'd seen. And my friend, he's got a facility that's open to the public, and he said the same thing. It's like, I've never seen a water monitor, that big. And it was impressive lizard. I mean, it was definitely a head turner when you saw it in person, but you would see neat things like that back in the day. You see, just different things come in. You see large. They didn't really import a lot of big animals because of the shipping. Most of the stuff was small, but I'll never forget seeing bags of retics come in and just some beautiful yellowheads and just some really nice animals that would come in. And those are the ones that we would, kind of pick through and try to snag before everybody else came in.
What'd you keep the water monitor in at the time?
I had a big enclosure, actually. It was a 12 feet long by 4 feet wide and 6 feet high with a full-size door. And I had a building with 4 of those, 2 on each side. 2 big pens on each side with a divider. So it had free reign. It had a really big enclosure because I had a smaller monitor on the other side. I built a ramp in there for it and had good lighting at the time, the best lighting I could get. Now, obviously, we got much better lighting. But, yeah, I had a big cage. I already had the cage done. And when I saw that, I'm like, he would fit perfectly in there. And he did. I put him in there and it wasn't an outdoor enclosure, which, that probably would have been the best thing, but he still did really well, in that enclosure.
Nice. Yeah, that's a big lizard.
That's
a huge lizard.
It was
I don't know. That would have been confident enough to take him on. So kudos to you.
It was like it was touch and go for a little while because I've been around. Like, I don't know, man. Fresh out of the wild, I think could take a finger off or really do some damage. But we just put gloves on, and other than just some incidental scratching, he was fairly handleable for a big lizard, out of the wild. But that was one of the coolest things I took home. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you first started breeding and like working with the different morphs, did you have like long-term project goals in mind, or what was your thought process back then?
Yeah, I always kind of, I didn't know a lot of people in the industry, but I knew like Dan and some other guys, they were already working on double recessive stuff. This is way back in like 2001 to 3. I kind of stayed away from the Codom, stuff at the time, just because I knew a few people that knew a lot, and they knew ultrasounds were being used. We knew a lot of this Codom stuff was really being cranked out in some high numbers. So I was always more interested in the double recessives anyway at the time. I just really couldn't afford them. But my plan was just to kind of stick with double recessives and recessive gene animals, then mix in a few Codoms here and there. And I've kind of stayed with that. We're mainly, recessive and double recessive based, with a few genes I do mix in there. I don't use an ultrasound. I'm still kind of old school, and I'll palpate and just watch the females. I probably should get one, but that was my goal, was to do that. I never wanted to have a lot of animals. I didn't want to have a warehouse full of snakes. I didn't want to be burdened with that. I just wanted to keep it kind of small. Always thought 80 to 120 clutches a year would be enough for me, and that's a comfort zone for me. I can handle that by myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your breeding process. Like, are you breeding year round, or are you doing like seasonal breeding? What are you doing?
I'm pretty seasonal, and I last year I stretched into May and June, and I did pick up a few clutches, but typically I start here in September, October, when we start to get cold fronts. Last year, I don't know how you guys were up there, but where I was, we were really warm all the way into December, and my males weren't breeding. I tried, and it was stagnant up until December. Then everything seemed to kick in. But incidentally, that pushed everything back. So normally June and July are my busiest hatching months. This year it's August and September. So I'm about 2 months behind my normal schedule. And it really wasn't a lot I can do. A lot of my local Florida guys did the same thing. They were all in the same, we're kind of on that same schedule. So I think it probably was environmental factors that attributed to that. But yeah, I'll usually start and then, watch my females. I write everything down. So I know, when I'm breeding them, I write down their ovulations and egg laying, and they do get in those cycles, and this year was funny. Some of those egg laying females laid almost 2 months to the day or the week that they did the year before. But the previous years, they're usually within a few weeks of the year before. So it's usually pretty tight. This year I'll hatch all the way into November because I still got one more clutch to come. But usually my incubator is only off about 3 months a year. The year before, I only had it off 1 month because we had some February clutches and then I had some November. Always get a few stragglers, but most of mine, I usually shut down breeding around the end of April. And if I see females that are kind of still bull wrapping, I'll run those. I'll still pair a little bit into May, but usually by the end of May, I'm done breeding for the year.
Gotcha. So I really don't have like a normal quote unquote because
Uh-huh.
this is only like season 3 for me. But like last year, I did have like a good bit of like late clutches, but
Mhm.
this year it feels like proportionately speaking, more of my clutches are a lot later than they were
Yeah.
last year. Like I got like so I've hatched 5, I've got 8 in the incubator, and what is that, 13? And so I'm waiting on 6 more
Okay.
to hit the ground, and 2 of those girls have not had their prelay. One's in prelay, one is probably a few weeks out from prelay.
Okay. So did
Yeah.
your animals breed at the normal time that they did the previous years, or did they seem not as interested and
It seems
breeding
like
later?
they were building a lot later in the year,
Yeah.
because I have been using ultrasound because I'm terrible at palpating,
Yeah.
and so, I got the ultrasound early on, and I just taught myself, like, that way,
Yeah.
and so, like, I try to wait, in most cases for them to get to about, like, let's just say 12 millimeter
Mhm.
follicles before I even start pairing.
Okay.
I try to be disciplined and do that. It doesn't always work,
Yeah.
but, I definitely try to wait, and so by the time my girls got to that size, like most of them that started building, it was later in the spring, really.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
and then they just went through their cycle and whatnot.
Yeah, I felt that I had the same experience when I got my big, push of eggs and ovulations. It was just so much later than it had been the previous years, and I could kind of see it coming with the way the breeding had gone. It started so much later for me than it had in the past, but that's just the way it goes. You really can't predict. You can predict that. You can try, but they're so smart and they're so dialed into barometric pressure and the seasonal changes, sometimes. So, but yeah, I'm halfway through hatching. Really, I think I'm at clutch 27, and I still have another 30 to 35. I think that are going to be hatching. When typically by now I'm down to my last quarter clutches, but I haven't even hit my 50% mark yet. So I've still got a little ways to go too. But it seems like a lot of the Florida guys are in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of babies early in the year next year.
Oh, good.
Which will be good timing because I'm planning to start vending early next
Oh,
year.
good. That'll be a lot of
That'll be
fun.
perfect timing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
Definitely
time.
looking forward to that.
That'll be fun. It's a good time. Everybody kind of hangs out, meet each other, meet new people, network. It's a good time.
Yeah. Like I've had so much fun at shows. Like even like it doesn't necessarily have to be Daytona, like the Orlando show, the
Mhm.
Tampa show. Like, man, I have a blast at those shows, just
Yeah.
talking with folks and just really like meeting people, networking, all that good stuff, seeing the animals, of course. And so like the shows are a blast, man. Like it's a lot to be said for the shows.
Yeah, I agree. And I always try to encourage people. The other podcast I did, I always try to encourage people to go to the shows. Like you and I are a perfect example. We crossed paths at the Tampa show. We all went out to dinner that night. We had a lot of fun. That wouldn't have happened online. So you get, how it is. You get hooked up with the right group of people, and everybody has a good time, share information, hang out, and like you said, networking. And that's where I like going to the shows too. Even if I wasn't vending, I would still go just to see everybody, see the babies, and talk to people. And like Tampa's a great time. We all have big dinners afterward. It's fun. Everybody goes to Tampa. So yeah, I look forward to the shows just as much to socialize as I do to actually vend. It's a good
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like social media has its place, and like I've
It
made
does.
like some really good friendships on social media. In fact, like it's some so good sometimes, like when you meet them in person, you forget, hey, this is the
Yeah.
first time I met you in person. Like it's,
Yep.
but I definitely like love meeting people in person and just having that opportunity to like just fellowship in person. And
Yeah.
man, that restaurant was so good.
That place is
I forget
good.
the name of it, but it was good, man. Them
Yeah.
gator bites. Oh man.
Oh, it was good. Yeah. It's Tibby's New Orleans
Tibby's, yeah.
restaurant. We
Yeah.
stumbled onto it about a year and a half ago. I was looking for something different, and then I was by myself, and it was great. And then the next time, I think there was 5 of us. Next time there was 12. And I think the last time there was 21 people, one server, everything's perfect. The food's great. And it's close to the fairground. So that's a good time. We'll definitely do that again in the fall.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that place is good. Yeah. Yeah. That's our new go-to spot when we're in Tampa is that place. It's really, really good food.
Yeah, that's a great spot to be the go-to spot because, like you said, it's really, really good food. Really,
Yeah.
really good food.
A lot of fun. And they're really good about catering to us. We don't really, make a reservation. We just call them up, say, hey, we got a big crew coming in. They accommodate us, put the tables together. I mean, they take real good care of us there. And like I said, the food's great, so that's kind of our new little honey hole over there in Tampa right now.
So when you're breeding, like how many locks are you trying to get like with the male and the female? And at what point do you throw the male in there?
I usually shoot for when I start to pair, like I'll look at the pairings I did with that female last year. And, when she ovulated, I still shoot for 4 to 5 pairings with a female. And it seems like a lot, but I'm not using an ultrasound just to kind of try to make sure that I can, she's going to become gravid. So I'll still go for 4 to 5 breedings once a month. You may miss a month because of a shed between the two snakes, one or the other, but I'll still in that, say 4 to 5 month breeding period, a target at least 4 to 5 pairing or 4 to 5 pairings at least. And then I'll give him a week off, week and a half, then pair him with another female. I don't push my males too much. The most females I'll pair to one male will be 5 to 7. That's about it. If I have more females for that project than that, then I'll just use 2 males. I'll have another male, for that project. Like we do a lot of ultra male pied stuff. So I'll have 2 different males I'm using instead of really pushing one male too much. I don't want to do that. So, and then if I start to see the follicles or start to see them swell up, then that's it. I'm done. I'm confident she's going to ovulate. And then I'll just kind of put her off to the side and mark the tub. And then that's it, but just kind of keep an eye on the males, make sure they stay healthy throughout breeding season.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you start pairing your males, like, are you waiting on weight? You waiting on age? A little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I know I've had one of the smallest males I've ever had breed was 560 grams. He was a great breeder. And he was a phenomenal, I still have him. He's still a great breeder, but he actually gained weight through breeding season. He finished breeding season. He got 6 clutches out of him. He was 800 grams, when breeding season was done. That rarely ever happens. So, but I usually a little bit of both. I kind of like them at least in that 700 gram range where they have a little bit of weight. This coming season, all my key males are going to be, they're already over 650 to 700 grams. I've never really pushed the males too hard. I tried some 500 gram range animals, and it's kind of like they'll court a little bit, but they're not the best breeders. But I kind of find that 700 to 800 gram range is the sweet spot for me. When breeding the males, and they're just a little bit bigger too, a little bit more body weight.
That's what I've seen too.
Same.
Thanks again too, like with that one male, that we were talking about that went off food. So he ate his like 4th meal in a row early this morning. So
Good.
Yeah, man, I was worried about that guy. Like I said, he was losing weight and stuff. He never even locked up. So it was a little weird. Like he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't breed, he wouldn't do anything. And then, like I say, he started like dropping weight, but putting him in the water, washing him off, changing out everything and putting him in a different room worked like a charm. Like the very first time I offered, he just wrapped it. I was like, yes.
That's what he said. Yeah, because from what you said, it was what, a 4 or 5 month, 6 month time frame where he had not eaten, right? Yeah. It was a while.
It was a while. And so I was super worried.
Yeah.
And so for him to just like hop on it the way he did, and he's hopped on every single one just like that. Like
That's
bam,
good.
bam, bam. As soon as you offer it, he don't think for a second. He just gets right on it. And so I'm like, yeah. So we'll put I think he was like maybe like 4 or something, but we'll just wait. Like I kind of want to get like a whole bunch of weight on him, and then we'll try and see if he wants to breed again. I mean, because I definitely want to breed him. Cypress Spectre double hit hypo climb.
Okay.
I definitely want to breed him, but I don't want to push him before he's ready, and so I can wait. It'll be all right.
And if that does happen again, if he falls into that cycle of non-feeding, that will probably work again. Just separate him, clean him, put him in. Because I've had other friends that, I've told that too, and I was like, it could be a 10-gallon aquarium. Just get him away from the other snakes, clean them, wash them down, something different. And like your snake, it just changed his whole mentality. And he just, like you said, he went right back on feed immediately. So it works good with males. And also, with females that lay eggs, I wash all mine off, clean the tubs out really good. I tend to just put newspaper down for their first feeding, get them back on feeding again. Then I'll put the cocoa, back in again. So I do this. It's similar with the females. I just don't separate them in a different room. But if I get a male like that, I'll just bring the male in the house, away from all the females, you know, and just clean them, different container, and just like, you know, your experience, usually they jump right back on feed, you know, right away. So I felt that was work because you said he seemed like he was normal. He wasn't passing any foul stools, so it didn't sound like he had any kind of any other issues. He just, you know, was needed to get out of that cycle and away from the females, and sounds like he jumped right back on again. So that's good news.
Yeah, he jumped right back on.
Yeah,
I was so happy.
Little things make us happy. That's one. When
Yeah.
you see a snake finally feeding after a hunger strike for 5 months, that's something that gets us excited, you know. So
Oh yeah. I was a proud pappy.
yeah.
So you feed live?
I do like fresh pre-killed. So I
Okay.
just buy live and then I just stun them, kill them, and then feed that way. I just don't have the room to feed or to freeze, you know, that many animals off. So yeah, I just do fresh pre-killed.
Okay,
Yep.
so you buy your rodents, you don't breed them.
Yeah, I don't have the time. It's a time consuming thing. And if I had time, I
Mm.
would. I just don't. Yeah, I don't have the time for it. So I have to buy
It
mine.
is. It is. So are you a one-man operation?
Yeah, pretty much. I do
Okay.
everything myself. My niece does help me a lot. She'll help me out sometimes, cage cleaning and labeling and setting up babies and things like that. So she'll help me a little bit, but for the most part, it's just me.
Yeah, man. Rodents are a lot of work,
It is.
yeah, like
Yeah.
we split it between like me, Takar, and my son, and
Uh-huh.
it's the three of us, and so we can get through it, but just doing it by yourself, man, that's
Yeah.
a ton of work.
It's a lot. Yeah. And then you always have something, you know, where a water line will get chewed through, or there's just, it's a lot. It's just a lot to do. But if I had the time, I would. I just don't have the time or the right setup for it. So right now it's just easier for me to buy the animals. So, and I have a good, reliable local source. So that helps. I don't have to drive too far. So it's nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you doing Norwegians, mice, ASFs? What do you do?
I don't really use ASFs. The only thing I'll feed, I do get a few ASFs. I feed those to my black-headed pythons and my crebos. So I'll use those occasionally. Rarely, every now and then I'll have one that I'll try an ASF if it gets picky. But usually just regular Norwegian rats, mice. I don't have anything that specifically will eat the ASFs. Everything eats pretty much normal. Like I said, I use those for some of my other species, the soft furs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so what's your feeding schedule like? So do you like adjust it based on like age and size, or you kind of feed everyone on the same cadence?
Yeah, I pretty much, my feeding day is once a week. And then on some of my smaller babies, I'll hit them about every 4 or 5 days on smaller meals, you know, versus a bigger meal. And then I usually kind of roll them I introduce fuzzy rats, like rat pups, real fuzzy rats, are right around 100 to 150 grams. I think it's a little easier for them to digest, you know, at that age. But I prefer almost to go a little on the smaller side where they're not jumping around, you know, like popcorn. And sometimes the babies will get startled, like the little mouse pups that are just kind of crawling around. But I feed everything once a week, most everything once a week. You know, of course, if they're in shed, they're going to pass. And then I'll look at some of my bigger females. You know, if they don't need a rat that week, I'll skip them. And just, you know, once they get to that certain size, if they haven't laid eggs that year, they've got plenty of weight, and I may skip a week on one of them, you know. But most everything, all the small stuff, gets offered food at least once a week.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's about what I do.
Okay.
Like the younger ones, I may do it a little less than once a week. Like I used to just only do it once a week. But now, since I've kind of got ASFs and I still got like my guy local that provides like other rodents like rats and mice, I may do it a little bit more frequently. Partially just because like I need to feed off some of those ASFs too.
Yeah.
Like we're producing a good bit, and so I do
Good,
have to feed them off as much as I can. But I like to do, at least for the non-holdbacks, I like to primarily feed just Norwegians, just because everyone doesn't have access to ASFs.
Exactly.
And it hasn't been my experience that the younger ones get like stuck on ASFs, but some people either feel that way, or I definitely don't want to sell like an animal to someone who doesn't have access to ASFs, and then it's stuck on ASFs, and then like they have problem feeding the animal, stuff like that. So I do try to like at least go back and forth, but primarily I do regular rats, Norwegians.
Yeah. That's a good idea. And it's a good recommendation. I know I sold a snake to somebody in Tampa, and they had a few snakes. And they said they were feeding soft furs because they were getting them at their local pet store. And I said the same thing. I said, if they had regular rodents, I would stick to that, because the person that's supplying them with soft furs, if they stop, you're going to have a hard time getting soft furs, So, if you have to feed them, fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but yeah, you produce your own, so you're good to go. But I don't know. I've never had an experience where they were just keyed in on soft furs and would only eat a soft fur. Years ago, I picked up a big snake from a guy, and he was honest. I needed the female, and he said it will only eat soft furs. It was a 2,000 gram ball python, so I could get him. It wasn't a problem. So I got the snake, and I never offered it a regular rat. I just kept giving it soft furs like he had been feeding it. And one day I just forgot to get the soft furs, and all I had were regular rats. So I threw a rat in there and it ate it fine, and it never ate another soft fur. So I don't know what was going on there, but I was feeding it the soft furs just because that's all he said it would eat. But it's never eaten a soft fur since, and that's been probably 7 years. So, I don't know if they'll get keyed in on just that only. Maybe, there's a small percentage that do, but I know back in the day when snakes were still the imports, a rare snake was still $20,000 or $30,000. People were gladly paying $5 to $7 for a soft fur to keep, the snake alive. They didn't care how much they cost back then, but, I use them for other species, but yeah, I don't really have anything right now that I have to feed soft furs to. Everything's pretty much on regular rodents, but.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like even some of my older snakes, like I'll offer like a Norwegian, and some of them won't take, but most of them will. Like it's only a handful that only eat the ASFs.
Okay. Yeah.
So
they definitely work, it's if you get that picky snake, sometimes that's one thing that kind of triggers them into feeding is those soft furs, so they're good to have around. In your case, it's smart to have both on hand, but yeah.
And I hadn't like tested this hypothesis, but I bet if some of those ones that only eat the ASFs, like probably if they went like a few weeks without eating, they'd probably take that rat too.
They might. Yeah, they might. Yeah, they could. Or maybe if you had the rat in there with some soft furs in the bin where they kind of got the scent, that might help too, it could. But yeah, it might.
Cool. So let's talk about the projects that you're working right now. So So what's your premiere project?
I guess the one this year so far, we've had a few really fun clutches. They were clutches of animals we hadn't produced yet. Something I've been building for. We had a couple in Daytona, was the VPI Xanthic Desert Ghost. So we were able to hatch out 2 females so far. That was exciting because that was a project we started on like 3 years ago, and our first 2 clutches this year, we got 1 in each clutch, and I was happy because the animals I'm using, the odds are 1 out of 8, and it was a 6-egg clutch and a 7-egg clutch. So we got 2 out of 13 eggs, and I have 2 more clutches due the end of September, possibly to hit another one. I still need a male. I don't have the visual male yet. So that one was pretty exciting. And then when I returned from Daytona, I knew I had some clutches that were going to be pipping the moment I pulled out of my driveway. And sure enough, when I came home, I looked in the incubator and I could see them. So we ended up with Orange Dream, Ultra Male Pies, and Yellow Belly Ultra Male Pies, 2 separate clutches. So that was exciting. Yeah. And they came out with a lot of pattern, really good color. And as soon as they shed, I'll post some pictures. But we started on the Ultra Male Pied combo project a few years ago. Now the females are up to size. So now we're in a situation where we can make, ODs, yellow bellies, and maybe OD yellow bellies. I still have 2 more clutches due to make some more combos, but so far we got 2 OD Ultra Male Pies and then 2 Yellow Belly Ultra Male Pies. So that was exciting because that's something we kind of been building to. And then we maybe have some Desert Ghost Pied stuff coming later in the year. So those 3 clutches were probably my most exciting because it's stuff we've never hatched, and stuff that we, made the pieces, raised them up to breeding, and now we're finally getting eggs from that group of animals. So those are pretty exciting.
So in terms of like animals you got in your collection, is pied like the recessive that you've got the most of, or is it another one?
Probably, yeah. I'd say mostly pies. We didn't do a lot of clown this year, but next year we'll have a lot of clown stuff. But I work with, Desert Ghost and then Xanthic, clown, pied, tri-stripe, ultramel. So mainly most of the recessive stuff. But yeah, I do quite a bit of pies. Even some of them just regular base gene pies, because we seem to sell those pretty good at shows. So I always like to have just regular basic pies on hand. But I'd say pies at least 60% of the collection, and then a decent amount of clowns, and then ultra male is probably my next most popular.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what route are you taking the ultra male other than the ultra male pod?
Clown too. We're working on that. I won't produce visuals yet. We're making ultra male het clowns, and then we do have some ultra male pies we made a couple of years ago. So I want to run the ultra male clown, try to make the triple, the ultra male clown pies. Yeah, that's kind of what we're working on too. So, and then just some other combos with ultra male, but mainly and tri-stripe. We do have some tri-stripe ultra male double hets. That's another one that's hard to find if you can't even really find a visual. So I'll probably have to just try to the 1 out of 16 odds and try to make one that way. So yeah, I try to do a lot I like ultra male a lot. So
Me too.
Working into most everything. Yeah, it's a pretty cool gene. It's getting the right colors in there. And I mean, no matter what you make, I've seen butter ultra males that look great. Dark stuff looks great. Tri-stripes look awesome. So it seems like whatever you put in ultra male works really well. So that's why I'm pretty excited about the ultra male stuff. And now with the ultra male pied combos, you just go from there. We're going to go into blackhead. This coming season we'll have the ability to make super OD ultra male pied combos now, because the OD ultra male pied, I have a male that's breeding now, and we'll be able to make some super stuff possibly. So that'll be a pretty cool project if it pans out. We'll see how that goes. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's still so much more to be done with ultra male, and
I agree.
I really like it. I really like it. And like you said, man, it's so many things that go well with it. Like I like seeing like the dark stuff. I like seeing pattern disruptors. Like I like all that. Like I really like that project.
Yep, I agree. There's a lot to do with them, I mean, no matter what, everything I've seen with ultra male looks good. I know Dale made some nice, like I said, some butter combos, and they look really good. Light stuff, dark stuff. It just, you get some really unique, burnt orange markings. So yeah, I'm a big ultra male fan. I've always liked ultra male, and it seems like it's becoming more popular now. People are realizing the potential. So there's just so much more to do with it. I agree.
Did you see that? I believe it was ultra male tri-stripe. A leopard ultra male tri-stripe is what I think it was. Did you see that one?
I don't think I've seen that yet. No, I've seen ultra male tri-stripes, but I didn't see the one with the leopard in it yet.
Okay, I'll have to see the picture of it. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Okay.
I can't remember who made it, so I apologize. But yeah, I have to see the picture of it. It's pretty dope. Is really
it okay? Nice. I've never seen an ultra male tri-stripe in person, but the photos look pretty impressive. So I can imagine it looks really good. And a tri-stripe ages dark anyway, so I think it would hold color really well as an adult. It really should. So yeah, I'd be excited to see that.
Nice. Yeah. I'll definitely have to see that picture. But ultra male clown is, so I should be pushing that fairly hard next year.
Oh, good.
As far as that project goes.
Okay.
Like hopefully my male is ready to go. And I probably have a backup male for it too, just in case one of them isn't ready to go.
Yep.
I've got like a double visual male, and he's probably at 500 now. If my girls kind of build around that same time frame, then in theory, as long as that guy keeps eating, he should be good to go. But I do want to have a backup male just in case, because I've been burnt before, not having a backup male. And so if I can have a backup male to kind of split the load, or if he stops breeding, then I can put that other one in. I want to do that just because I don't want to be in the position that I was in before, to where I can't push that project forward and I gotta go a different route. I want to give myself as much of an opportunity to push that project forward as possible, because that's one of my favorite projects. And so I don't want to lull in it if I can help it.
No, that's smart. And I always recommend people, don't put all your eggs in one basket with one male, even a proven breeder male. I always like to have a backup, because, a year is a long time to wait for a project that you're serious about. If that male doesn't breed, you're kind of dead in the water. You're trying to scramble around at the last minute and find a replacement. But I always recommend having a backup male, even if it's not the same caliber, but have something to give you an option or an opportunity to make those babies that season. A friend of mine was last year. It's kind of funny. We laughed about it, but I bought a snake from him, and then he sold me his the het version. It was a beautiful snake, and I wanted it as a backup. Well, his breeding season came around and the male that he was banking on wasn't breeding. And he's like, I got 6 females and he's not doing anything. I'm like, I told you should not have sold me. I told him, like, I wouldn't sell that snake yet. You might want to hang on to it till at least December, January. He said, no, my male is going to be plenty big enough. And it was, I think, February. And I said, you sure don't want that snake back? So he kind of missed, you know, a big part of his breeding season because he sold the snake. So I always think it's important to have something as a backup plan just in case, because you don't want to miss that opportunity. Like you said, if he doesn't decide to breed the right way or he takes time off, you know, then you're kind of can be a year behind on that project, you know, if you can't. And it's frustrating because if it's a key male, sometimes, you know, during breeding season, those males aren't available. You can go on Morph Market and find one because they're doing, other people are using those males as well. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to have a backup of some kind, you know, going into breeding season.
100%. And like one of my favorite things to do is like plan for like the upcoming season, because it's kind of like building a roster, like a sports team roster, right? Because you know, like, you know, what kind of like plays you want to run, you know, what kind of game plan you want to run. So you got to look at your players and like where are you missing people, where you missing a player, and like you got to have a backup in there and just kind of like think through that and like put yourself in like the best position to be successful. So it's pretty fun. Like,
it is. No, you're right. It's a lot of planning and organizing and coordinating, because you're right. It's exactly the way it is, you know, and then that can all change quickly. If you see an animal posted online, you know, that you want to make it like, damn, I want to change some things now. I got those animals, but I wasn't thinking about putting them together, but now, you know, so yeah, that can still change. But no, I agree. It's fun to just kind of prepare. And I think we're in that stage right now where I mean, most of us probably already know what we're pairing, but little things may change, you know, so we're still kind of, there's some things I'm still working on. I'm sure you are too, as far as pairings and, you know, what's going to happen if he doesn't breed these girls, what else can I use? So you're right. There's always a backup scenario in case the first plan doesn't work out, you know, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of planning that goes into the stuff for sure.
100%. And then of course, at the end of the day, they're animals. So they're going to do what they want to do.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right.
But yeah, it's fun. Like I really enjoy it. Like, and it gives, like I said this a lot, but there's always like so much to look forward to. Like you're looking forward to the planning, you're looking forward to the pairing, you're looking forward to them laying eggs, you're looking forward to it hatch. Like there's so many things you're looking forward to. You're looking forward to the animals grow up. Like it's just like you're constantly having something to look forward to and be excited about. So that's one of my favorite things about it too. It's just like really always constantly having something to look forward to and be excited about.
Yeah, and it is. And when you see those projects finally come to fruition, it does. You know, like when we had last week the ultrapied yellow bellies and ODs, that was 3 years ago. You know, I started that 3 years ago, made my own heads, and now they're laying eggs. Now I'm getting it. So I look at those snakes in my hand. I'm like, you know, this, I was thinking about making you 3 years ago, and here you are, you know, here it is. But, and I know you're getting to that point where you're what, over 100 animals now?
Yeah, about 120-ish.
Okay. Yeah. So it grows fast, but it's fun. Like there's always something to look forward to, watching your babies grow, watching new stuff hatch out, trying to decide, you know, what you want to hold back, what you want to sell. That can be the hardest part, you know, it's just, you know, what do you want to sell? What do you want to hang on to? So you'll find that out. That's the word to me. The worst part. It's like, I want to keep it, but do I need it? You know, that to me is the most difficult part. You just hand picking the stuff that you want to hold back. But you know, it is fun. You're right. There's always something to look forward to.
Yeah, like I got like washed on the project last year. I only really had one opportunity in the DG clown project, and it was like a visual clown combo clown male to like a visual combo DG female, and she ended up laying like maybe 8 or so eggs. 7 of them were like slugs. One looked like it could have been a winner, and it did well like all the way up until like about 2 days before I expected it to hatch, and then it just went south quick. And so like I didn't get anything in that project because I was at least hoping to have those double heads growing up in the rack. But this year, like so far, my first DG clown project clutch has been successful. Like I only had 4 eggs, but like all 4 were females, and 3 of them were like visual combo clowns.
Oh, good.
And all of them are 100% het DG. And then like I got like 1 leopard double het DG clown. But yeah, I was pretty excited. So I ended up having, and I might have mentioned this in Daytona, but I ended up having like a leopard inchy yellow belly clown het DG, spot nose inchy yellow belly clown het DG, and a inchy leopard clown het DG, and then like I said, that leopard double het. And so I don't know what I'm gonna do if I'm gonna keep all of them, or if I'm gonna sell one of them or two of them. I don't know yet, but I know
they're
that
all
spot
females,
nose
right?
girl ain't going nowhere.
They're all girls. They were all females.
Zero
Yeah.
0.4. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd hang all four of those. You know, those are worth hanging on to. You know, I would think, because you're going to be guaranteed to get some cool combos out of that. And you know, even with 4 females, you know, if all 4 go, still with double heads, you know, the odds can double. I still have a lot of double heads, and you know, they can make or break you sometimes. You know, sometimes you know you're hitting on all cylinders, you get a lot of visuals. Other times you don't. But yeah, those would be tough to sell. Those have got some pretty good genes in them. I'd probably hang on to all 4 of them. You know, but
Yeah, I'm really like seriously considering, like, man, I might as well hold on to all 4 of
yeah.
them. And that's probably where I'll land too, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be worth it, you know. I mean, like you said, then it gives you multiple opportunities to make, you know, those combos, you know. So I would hang on to those if it were me.
And then I
Yeah.
got another clutch that just hit the ground. It's like 6 eggs, where got a shot at some visual clown het DGs, and so we'll see what we get.
Okay.
But it's not as many codoms in the mix, but spot nose is in the mix.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so
That's a good one.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I really think that's all that guy, like I'm trying to think in my head, but yeah, that's all that male did for me this year. I didn't stretch him too far because he was pretty young, but next year he's gonna be ready to go.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, like he goes right in there and gets the business. So next year he's gonna be ready to go.
That's good. Yeah, that's smart. You don't want to push some of those guys too much, you know, and want them to shut down. That's because that can be even more frustrating. That can hurt you just as bad if they are breeding and then they shut down halfway through. You have females that are ready, and you just don't want to push them, you know, too much. So there's always that balance, you know, how much can they handle? You know, in the wild, they're moving around more. They're probably not as confined. So I'm sure it's a lot different, you know, there. But yeah, there's always that fine line between pushing them too much and, you know, kind of backing off a little bit. Because even if they're still feeding, it could still 4 to 6 month breeding season. It can take a lot out of a male, you know, it really can if they're pushed too much. So that's good, though. It sounds like an exciting project. You're making some good holdbacks.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that project. Hypo Clown is probably my favorite project. Not even probably, it's definitely my favorite project. But DG Clown is definitely a close second. Yeah. Ultra Clown too. Like,
yeah, and they all work well together. I mean, yeah. Yeah, you can even mix a lot of that stuff, you know, together, and you're still going to get good stuff. I don't know if anybody's made the Ultramel DG Clown. I have seen the Ultramel Desert Ghost Pied, and that was really impressive. I don't know. I've only seen one in Europe. Dean made that one, and it was really impressive. So I'm sure the clown would be just as nice, you know.
Ultra DG Pied, you said?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Dean Van Omeren, Dean Reptiles, he made one, and they work together really well. Those genes, you know, I didn't know if the DG would kind of hurt the Ultramel, but they look really good together. As far as I know, it's the only one that's been made, unless I just missed it somewhere else. But he made one. It was pretty impressive, you know. So it was a good combo. It kind of had me thinking about maybe shooting for that, you know, a little bit, because I've got some Ultramel pied females and a Desert Ghost pied, and I thought about maybe just making some pied double hets, you know, for down the road. It was a nice enough combo where I think it would be worth chasing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was actually thinking about DG Ultra Clown, and I got that male penciled in to go to like a visual Ultramel girl for next year.
Okay.
Because he's a inchy yellow belly leopard DG het clown, and so it'll be pos het clown, but we'll see.
And get it tested. You know, now you can just send off the skins, get them tested, and you'll know what you got.
Exactly. Yeah. So I really like a lot of those projects, but definitely looking forward to next year. Next year is going to be like an even better year, hopefully, than this year. And this year is going to be like a good year too.
Good. Yeah, it takes time, man, to build those projects. And next thing you know, 3 to 5 years down the road, 7 years, you're making better stuff. Your clutches are the quality. Your clutches are better, more visuals. And then, like I said, the most difficult part is trying to pick out, what you want for yourself and what you want to sell. But it can build pretty quick. You start getting into that 20, 30 clutch range. 200 to 300 babies. It can add up pretty fast. So but it's a lot of fun.
So what's your thought process like when you're figuring out like what animals to keep versus what animals not to keep? Because I can imagine it's pretty tempting to keep.
It is.
Because I know you're producing a lot of fire, so it's probably really tempting to keep a lot of stuff.
It's like, and I look at like what's out there, and I ask myself, if I had to buy 2 or 3 of these, could I even find this stuff? And like we made the Desert Ghost VPI Xanthics. I've had people reach out to me. They weren't even offered for sale and they wanted to buy them, but I'm like, I could probably sell them for a pretty good chunk, but I can't replace them. If I wanted to go out and buy 5 myself right now, I probably couldn't even find females. So for me, it's like, my long-term projects. I know we just had a special Batman, neat snake, and I probably will keep her back just because she is so unique. So I guess I kind of got like these long-term goals, and I just hope I can make the pieces, like we made the yellow belly ultra male pies. I'm keeping both. I need the female for the future, and then the male I need for myself. So it's tough. I try to, just try to, I guess, upgrade the best I can. At some point, phase out of the double heads and just get into visuals and just clean up the clutches a little bit, because a lot of the stuff I'm making, I'm still using double heads. Like I said. So it's just like availability. Can I find it? When I bought my OD Ultra Male Pie, I've missed on it for 3 years. One, I saw someone post a clutch online, and I asked him, are you going to sell it? He said yes. I bought it, and now I just hatched some out, but I'm also a year ahead. If I waited, we just hatched 2 males, but those won't breed till next year. So now I can sell those and keep the one, I bought last year. So I guess it just depends on my project long-term. I've got like ideas in mind, and some of the stuff that I hold back, I just can't find, I couldn't buy. So I just keep it back for myself, mainly visual double recessives. I'll definitely hang on to, especially if they're females. They're just hard to replace or put a dollar amount on those, honestly. So if I can afford to keep them, I'll just keep it back, but it's tough. Gotcha. That's what you're going to run into too. When you start, like they're all looking so cool, and and if you break down what you actually paid to maintain those snakes and produce them, it's a fraction of what it would cost you to go out and buy them. So, it's hard to sell that, when you know what you actually got into those animals, so that to me is the biggest challenge. What do I keep? What do I sell? But, still a struggle, but works for me. I figure out a way to, try to, like this year, I've already got a few animals, maybe 8 or 10 holdbacks. I think we're on clutch 27 now. So I think I got about 10 holdbacks so far, and that could change. I'm sure I got a few more upcoming clutches, and if I hit what I want, I'm going to hold those back too, so yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Before that last clutch, I think I really only had 2 holdbacks before that last clutch.
Okay.
Now I think you convinced me. Now I think I got 6.
That's what I would do. I mean, those are the snakes that when you sell, you're going to regret it 3 months down the road, because you can't find one anywhere, and you're like, damn, I wish I would have kept those. So those are hard ones not to hold back, in my opinion. And the thing is too, it's, I was looking at not necessarily the value of the snake now. Look at what the value is going to be in 3 years. It's Desert Ghost Clown. Don't look at what it is right now. Say you buy one for $6,000 now, it'll never be worth less than that as it continues to grow. And, look at the clutches that animal is going to give you, down the road. So, that's kind of the way I look at it, in a way. If it makes more sense to hang on to that female, then I'll just keep it, versus selling it for a price that I don't feel is really worth it. It's at some point it's smarter to hang on to the snake, let it get size, and then breed it in 3 years. And, long term, it's going to be a better investment.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
100%. So that special Batman, based on current thinking, which route are you planning to go with that?
2 really. I really like the Cypress special stuff a lot.
Nice.
And then I think that snake as an Xanthic would look really cool. So those are the 2 things when it hatched. First one we've ever hatched, and I haven't really seen one of those. I've seen some other special clown combos, and I really like them a lot. But when it hatched, that's when your mind starts kind of spinning, like, okay, what else can I put on that would help it and not hurt it? I think Cypress is a good one. I got some Cypress stuff, or just VPI Xanthic. I think special and Xanthic is going to look really good together, because special animals tend to be real crisp and clean, and they age well, and that may help the Xanthic do the same. Now I don't know how hard it's going to be to pick out, but I'm definitely going to go that route. So those are the first 2 things that came to mind, were, like I said, the Cypress and Xanthic. That's the only clutch I'll have this year that I can make that snake. So I won't have any more opportunities for that one. It was a 9-egg clutch. Didn't have the best odds, because the male I'm using was a het that I made myself. So I only got one visual special clown. The other ones were just some other combos, but good female to hold back, you know, and then maybe in 2 years that will change, you know, maybe I'll see something else or decide to go in a different route. But right now I know of two possible paths. I'm going to take that snake for now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real nice. Special is one of those genes that is really like growing on me. Like I'm seeing like a lot of really cool stuff, and like you said, it's like really crisp. It's really nice, and it just really pops to me.
It does. Well, it's funny because back in like 2010, you know, we had specials and we were making crystals back then. You know, crystals were really popular. They're really pretty. They have like, you know, the blue eyes, kind of like a Lucy. It's in the white complex, but it had pattern. And I actually thought back then, I was thinking about running it into clown and making mystic crystal clowns because a mystic crystal is really cool. And I never did it, but I just dumb luck. I kept my super special females. I just had them and I was just making, you know, Lucy's and stuff with them and different, you know, white combination snakes. And then I saw some people posting some special clown stuff and I had an inchy Batman. So I bred him to those super specials and made my own hets. So everything was a special. There was no doubt about it because the females were supers and I still have those. I'm glad I kept them. I just changed directions, made my own hets. And then that male I used this year to make that. And then the nice thing about those pairings, I was able to produce a lot of female combo specials that are het. And a lot of them are going to go this year. So my Cypress stuff will go to that. But yeah, the special, it's interesting because I look back in like 2009 and 10, a single gene special, it looks different than just a normal ball python. You know, a normal ball python, as it ages, it kind of muddies up the colors a little bit and it bleeds. But a special is real crisp, even at 2,000 grams. They look different, you know, not like a fire. And when you're looking at them, you think there's something there, subtle. But when you put it into the right clowns, it makes a huge difference. You know, like I said, real crisp, real clean. They age really well. They add some nice colors and tones in there. So yeah, I kicked myself for not putting into clown in 2010, but I'm happy that I kept the super specials just to have on hand and then was able to kind of do a 360 and make some hets and still be in the project, you know. But look back, one of those things and, you know, 12 years ago, I should have done it, you know, would have been in a pretty good spot now, but at least I had the, you know, the insight to kind of hang on to those girls for future projects.
Yeah, that's really dope. It's a lot of like what I feel like are underrated like morphs. So what are your thoughts on that? Like what's the recessive that you think is underrated that you think more people should be paying attention to?
That's a good question. You know, I still do think, you know, I see Ultramel a lot. I think there's still a lot of potential with that. I still think Tri-Stripes has a lot of potential, not a lot of it out there. There's a few guys working. I've seen the Desert Ghost Tri-Stripes are phenomenal. The Ultramel looks great. I've seen a photo of an Axanthic. I don't know what line of Axanthic. It may have been TSK. But either way, it was a beautiful snake. So I think that's one because when people see them in person at the shows, they really like them a lot. And the combos look great. You just add some different color changers in there. I think that's one that a lot of people kind of have slept on. I see more people now jumping into puzzle. A few years ago, you know, a lot of people really weren't paying attention to it. One of my local friends, Barry, he always focused on puzzle years ago, you know, and now it's really starting to become more popular. A lot of people are getting into the puzzle combo. So yeah, I agree. I think there's some genes that people kind of overlooked and, you know, now they're really seeing the potential. But I would say, you know, the puzzle, the Tri-Stripe, still Ultramel, I think has a ton of potential, would be probably the top three that I see that I think definitely needs a little bit more attention, you know, at the moment. I'm sure something else will pop up too, but yeah, I think those three still have a lot of potential.
Gotcha. What about codoms? Any underrated codoms out there in your opinion?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Got me on that. I'm thinking of what else to add in there. I'm not really sure. I've been focusing so much on the recessive stuff. You know, there's something new that's popped up. I've seen some pictures the other day of something really unique. I don't know what it was, but he didn't even say what it was. It looked like some kind of codon, but I'm not sure really what it was. But I don't know. I did see that really unique snake. I think I don't know how to pronounce their name. Something Royals, K. Christine Royals. And it was I think he called it the Goldeneye. Really unique looking snake. And I think it was a GHI blackhead Mojave Enchi, unusual looking ball python. It was such a strange looking animal and funny because like all those genes have been around for 20 years and no one's really combined them until just this last year. really unique looking animal. And I've got the animals to make that. So I may try to make a couple of those. But I think there's still a lot of combos out there that, people need to experiment with. I mean, even the VPI Axanthic Desert Ghost, those genes have been around for 20 years. And, we're just now starting to see double visuals being made, a few combos. There's a ton of potential with stuff that's been out there. We just got to, I think, focus on those, see how those genes interact. And, I think we'll be surprised. I think the Special Clown's a perfect example. A lot of people kind of wrote Special off as just another white complex snake, big deal. But it's definitely a game changer in some different, genes so far, especially when you want to make snakes that look great when they hatch and still retain some of that as an adult. We've all seen things that look great when they hatch, and as an adult, they can disappoint. But certain genes like Special, it definitely keeps that color, and it's just more fun to look at when it's an adult. That's the key. Yeah. Sometimes babies look great and adults but that's what I think the future is: producing animals that look great as an adult too. I've seen the triple recessive clown, the Desert Ghost, Axanthic VPI, and we all saw it. It was a game changer, for the Axanthic clown DG stuff. And that snake at 1,000 grams still looks phenomenal. So I think a lot of people are going to want to dive into the stuff that's going to retain that look, as it gets older, and not muddy up or lose some of that color. So it's kind of a
gotcha. So have you added any like new genes to your collection recently?
I'm trying to think. No, nothing new. I only bought one snake this year. It was a OD yellow belly clown pied from my friend Ryan, a male. I needed that snake for some double heads because I have an OD clown pied, but I didn't have OD yellow belly. So I got that. That's the only thing I think I bought this year. I got a good friend of mine who's got 2 clutches, and I'm hoping he hatches what I want. So it's on my list. I already told him. I said, when it comes out of the egg, if it's a male, put my name on it. So, but that's a key snake I'll need. But I don't know. I've looked at Monsoon. I think Monsoon's got some cool potential. I mean, a lot of them, they look the same, but I think, as a hypo, it's going to look really good. I think if it interacts with pied the way we want it to, it'll have a lot of potential. I think for the genes that I work with, it's got some interest. I've got some interest in that, maybe, Desert Ghost would look good. I think that as an Axanthic would look really cool. That's the way I kind of evaluate it. I don't look at the price of an animal. I kind of look at the potential for me with the group of animals that I have. Is it going to work for me? Some do, some don't, and if it does, then that animal will be worth more to me. And I don't mind, paying for that if the potential's there. When I bought my OD Ultramel pied last year, it was a chunk of money, but I needed it. And it was a perfect fit for me. Other people may not have paid that, but I needed that snake. So as far as anything new, though, I do like Monsoon's kind of on my radar. I've been watching, and I think there's a lot to do with that because I think the only combos I've seen have just been with Codom stuff. I haven't seen much recesses. I know people are working on it, but I've been looking at that. I've been looking at puzzle stuff a little bit more, So I think if I was going to bring anything in new, it would probably be one of those, either Monsoon or puzzle right now. What about you?
Gotcha. Yeah. So I haven't brought anything new in recently, but I have been looking at like puzzle heavily. And so I'm really looking forward to getting into that project. I will get into it sometime soon over the next few months. I do agree with you about Monsoon. Like, I still think there's some things to do with Monsoon. Some people have kind of written it off, but I don't think it should be written off. I just think we should figure out like what it works best with. Yeah. I don't know if this combo's been produced. If it has, I haven't seen it, but I think like a Monsoon Ultramel will look really good too.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. No, I agree. Because like I said, unless I missed the photos, I just haven't seen anything double. I think there was a clown made, or the Moray clown.
Yeah. That was actually pretty nice. Yeah, that was pretty sick.
It was cool. Yeah. And I just think that, before we write these things off, just dig into them. I mean, a lot of genes were written off years ago, red stripe and spot nose and special. They're right back in the mix now. They're key components in clown combos. And, 10 years ago, people just kind of wrote them off as insignificant, but they're definitely game changers. I mean, there's some good genes in there. Some of them have been around, but I agree. I think Monsoon has a lot of potential with the right gene, just getting one and trying to figure out, the best way to work that project. So I'm pretty excited. I think that I like that gene, and maybe I'll add one this year or next year.
But just like imagine like a Monsoon Ultra Clown. That would be nuts.
It would be good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that pattern is so unique. The downside that people say, well, they all kind of look the same, but that's the thing. It's a base. Work with that base and see what you can add. I think, like I said, hypo, ultramel would be really cool. Desert Ghost. So it's definitely different. But yeah, the puzzle thing, my friend Barry, he's a local guy, Barry Swope, and he was working with puzzle, years ago, and he's made some combos that if you see them in person, it's definitely a mind changer versus just seeing a photo. I wasn't this year in Daytona. Last year, I think he had OD Yellow Belly hypo puzzle on display, and we were just hanging out, and I was like, it was a phenomenal snake in person. Seeing pictures of those are one thing, but it was pretty impressive animal. So I think there's a lot of potential with that. I've seen the Ultramel, puzzles in person. They look really cool. So yeah, that's another one. There's a lot to do with still, I think.
Yeah, I saw that Ultramel puzzle in person last week.
Nice, huh?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a cool snake.
Yeah.
Yep.
I definitely want to get into puzzle though. And like I said, over the next several months, I'll definitely be making some investments in the puzzle project. So
yeah. It's one of those projects, so there's still not a lot out there. You're seeing some base stuff, but the guys that are making the good stuff are communicating and getting it. So it's one of those things you almost have to make your own pieces. If you want to go to a certain direction or make a complex combo, you almost have to just have the stuff and make your own. There's just not a lot out there yet. If the pieces are being made, they're just being, bought up or shared among themselves. But yeah, there's some cool potential with that project for sure.
And Joel hit a nice from State 48, hit a nice puzzle animal like a couple weeks back. I think it was a bongo puzzle. It was nice. It was nice. Okay. Like it just kind of like looked like a layer cake, like the pattern was so crazy. It was nuts.
Okay. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, I didn't see that one then. Okay.
Huh. Yeah, he posted it on YouTube. And so that's where I saw it. But yeah, it was nice, really nice.
That's cool.
So have there been any projects for you that have kind of been like really challenging, whether it was due to like bad odds or things just didn't go right or anything like that?
Yeah, like years ago we made OD Yellow Belly leopards, and I was fascinated with that look, just the colors. So I wanted to make the lavender version, and I bred that snake to a lavender, and the first clutch, boom, we got the male, exactly what I needed, hard to make, bred him to lav snake, and we made it instantly, and it was fast, and that never happened. So we tried to do the same thing with Ultramel, and it was like just the opposite. I get 10 eggs, I get 9.1, I can't get the combo I want. I bred some of my biggest Ultramel females, because that one you got to kind of play the odds. So to get the OD Yellow Belly Leopard, to hit, it shouldn't be that difficult. But for me, it was like 30 eggs. I could not get the male I needed. And I didn't give up on it, but I just, some of the females that I made that are het, I just kind of put them off to the side and I raised them up. But the leopard or the lavender version we made really fast, and that, like I said, first clutch, boom. And I made few of those in like these 4 to 5 egg clutches. But then in the 7 to 8 egg clutches, I whiff. All the genes like get spread out. I don't understand why that happens, but it's happened to me a lot. But I would say that was probably my biggest one, because the lavender version was a huge hit, really cool snake, and I knew the Ultramel would be awesome. But it's just I can't even make it this year, maybe next year. I wasn't getting the genes lined up the right way, so that was a little bit of a bummer. The albino pieds for me, when I bought my first one. I think I bought my first albino pied male, and at the time it was like $4,000 for the albino pied. And I had females ready to go, and he wouldn't breed. And that was a lesson that I'd learned, my first learning experience about having that backup male, and I didn't have that. If I would have had a pied het lab or a pied het albino or albino het pied, I could have salvaged that season. But I had 5 female double hets ready to go, an albino pied male that I thought was ready to go, and he was 700 grams. Didn't want anything to do with him, So then the next year he bred a little bit, nothing. So by the time I bought that snake to the time I started producing them, there was about 3 to 4 years in between. I just had the worst luck. But the first year that I made, and we made 11 that year, everything lined up, but they weren't, the value wasn't where they were, but we still did good with the project, So that was one that didn't go the way I wanted it. This one Ultramel combo, it just didn't go the way I wanted. But it's like you said, man, it's like there's always something to look forward to, So you strike out on one. I got 4 other projects that are coming I could do good on, This clutch doesn't give me the odds I need. I got a couple more that could, It's it's a ride. You just know some good
Yeah.
days and bad days. You know?
With some
So
highs and some lows.
there is, it's like nothing you can do once the eggs are in the incubator. You just sit back and just wait. There's nothing you can do to change or influence. You can, pray to the odds gods and hope they're on your side. But we had last week was some good odds. I can't complain. So I know I got a rough sailing ahead for a couple clutches. So, but just the way it goes. So what about you? Have you had anything?
That's got me a little bit worried too. Actually, for a while I thought it was like the DG Clown project. Because like last year, I had like that terrible luck, but then this year it kind of made up for it by having like 4 really nice females.
Yeah.
But I was thinking kind of along those same lines. I was like, man, I hope I didn't use up all my luck on this one clutch, because I still got a lot of clutches to still kind of have.
Same with me. I've had some good ones. A good run. It's like anything. It's like, man, I just hope that a bad run's not around the corner. So. Because when you're using double heads, it can swing a lot of different ways with double heads. So my last 3 double head clutches were heavy on the visuals. So, I know what that means. I know something's lurking around the corner. I don't think I'm going to like it. So I'm going to keep riding it out, the good luck while I can. But
yeah, man. Because I got some stuff that I really need some good odds in. Like, I got a clown pie girl that's going to lay in. So,
oh, good.
She's probably like, I don't know, like 2-3 weeks away from laying, and that should be, hopefully, if the odds guys like smile on me, some nice visual clown combos that are DG Pod.
Oh, good.
So that'll be nice. I got a Confusion Het Batman that I put to Ultra Male. Then I'm waiting on her to lay, and so hopefully I get some nice stuff in that one. And hopefully it's Het Clown too. I probably have to test for some stuff in that clutch.
Yep.
I put that same Confusion Het Batman to a Black Pastel Yellow Belly Clown, and so she should be laying in a few weeks. I put 2 males to her. Either way, it should be a nice clutch. If the odds guys like smile on me.
Yeah.
But I also put an Inchy Red Stripe Batman to that girl.
Okay.
But I'm kind of hoping that the Confusion Het, well, in the perfect world, it'll be like a 8-egg clutch, 4 from one male, 4 from the other. But I know that ain't happening.
Yeah. Good luck on it.
If I had to choose which male took her, I think I'm going with Confusion Het Batman.
Okay. Yeah.
I really love Confusion. That's one of my favorite codoms, and it'll be some nice animals from that. But I mean, I wouldn't be mad if it's the Inchy Red Stripe Batman, because we can work with that too.
Yeah. And you got good stuff. I mean, those are all good genes to have in there. And like you said, you're really not going to be disappointed in anything you get in that one. But like I said, it just once that pairing's done, it's just it's out of your hands. Nothing you can do. Just hope you get what you want to get out of it. I think that's the exciting part, because as they're pipping, the eggs are hatching. It's just highs and lows. I mean, 1 minute you're on top of the world. We were excited. It was when my first Xanthic Desert Ghost clutch was hatching. The first head out was the visual. I'm like, that's great. I got 6 more eggs to go. And that was the only one I got. But it was a lot of Desert Ghosts in that clutch. So, and then sometimes as you're going through the clutch, you think you struck out, and the last 2 eggs got what you wanted. But as long as you got those good genes like you're doing, man, you'll have some good stuff no matter what you hatch.
So. Yeah, man. Looking forward to the rest of the stuff hatching this season.
Yeah.
Hopefully the odds guys smile on me. That'll be nice, because a lot of that stuff, like I really need it for my projects, and it'll really help like push the project forward. And so hopefully it works out. But.
Yeah. Now, where do you want to be long term as far as the size of your collection?
So long term, I think I kind of go back and forth. Like I want to be bigger than what we are now. So like right now we're getting we'll have like 19 clutches. I think somewhere between 40 and 50 is probably like my cap, as long as like I'm working another job. 40 to 50 clutches is probably going to be the cap, just because obviously there's like a lot of work that goes into it. And if I'm working like a full-time job, like I do, then that's a lot of work. Like when you combine what you're doing with the snakes and what you're doing with work and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about 40, 50 clutches, but I don't know. It just really kind of depends, right? And so what we have kind of sort of tried not to do is like grow too fast and like bite off too much. Like each year it just kind of gets like progressively larger. And so like it pushes it enough to where you're not like in the exact same spot you were last year, slightly out of your comfort zone. Okay, can I deal with that? Okay, if that's cool, then maybe we can push a little bit forward, because in theory you're getting better on some stuff too, right? And so we're just kind of like growing, but like I say, 40-50 clutches is probably like max, at least based on current thinking and kind of everything else, like the sum total of all other circumstances right now.
That's a good way to do it. You know, I've seen people scale up too big, too quick, and doing that approach, I think, is a smart way to do it. See what you guys can do and still have a good balance, still enjoy life, still take, you know, vacations and have a full-time job and not get buried, you know, by the animals. And one of my good friends was in it years ago, and that he told me, and he was a big name in the business. And he said, I'm 55. I work 70 hours a week. I have 2 employees and I'm just miserable. And he scaled up kind of big, and he regretted it. And then he basically just sold and got out. So I think you're right. Just scale slow, build slow to where you have that comfort zone, where, you know, too, and the end of the day, the animals got to be taken care of the right way. You don't want to compromise that or yourself or your sanity. So you got to find that balance to where you can manage it all. You know, you want to be able to sell the animals that you want to sell and, you know, keep what you want to keep. And you can still, you know, replenish your animals and just upgrade to better animals and keep that 50, you know, 40 to 50, 60 clutch maximum, you know, but just keep upgrading those clutches. That's, you know, probably a good way of doing it versus going too big, too quick. Cause, you know, one disruption in the market and kind of seeing that now, it can be difficult. I know I wouldn't want 5 to 10,000 babies, you know, certain times. It's a lot to have. I've never had that many. The most we ever did was 132 clutches, and it was a lot that year, you know, but everything was gone and we were able to move it. But like you, I work a full-time job, and I didn't have really any spare time that year. So it was a lot. I don't know if I'd want to do that many again. That was a lot.
What year was that?
That was 2 years ago. So
okay, so it was a good year to have it.
What's that?
As far as like sales goes, I said that was a good year to have that many as far as sales.
It was. You're absolutely right. It was good. And then, you know, the COVID year, I mean, it was a good. And then the next year we did 110, no problem. And then this year we kind of scaled back, you know, for a few different reasons, a little bit, kind of building more towards this year because I had different males coming online. A lot of my females had gone back to back. So I was like, this is a good year to kind of focus on the certain projects I need. And I think we'll be right around, I think it was 61 clutches this year. So I think that's what it was. Or yeah, I think it was right on 61 clutches. So, and that's fine for me this season. But no, that's a good idea. Just kind of keep it manageable. Don't get overwhelmed, you know, with things. But, you know, if you start doing shows and networking, you know, you'll be able to move those animals, you know, I think on a regular basis. So it's a good way of doing it.
Okay. Hey, I want to take a brief pause for the cause to shout out to the sponsors real quick. And then when we come back, I actually want to talk about shows some more in depth. So real quick sponsor break.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So shout out to the sponsors, man. Appreciate you, Jason. Appreciate you, Matt. Really appreciate all the support. So George, getting back into the conversation about shows and stuff. So how long have you been vending the shows?
We've been vending off and on, I'd say, I think about 7 years now, even though I was always at the shows. And a lot of times we would be at the shows with animals and just, you know, deal with other vendors or have deals set up. But as far as officially setting up my displays with acrylics, it's been, I think we're on about year 7. I haven't vended outside of Florida. You know, we are trying to get into Tinley and Arlington, but with a full-time job, it had been challenging in the past. So now we have a little bit more freedom. So I'd like to do some out of state shows, but it's a lot of fun. Meet a lot of cool people. You can network, and, you know, a lot of the people we meet too don't really go online, you know, so I've gotten some really good tips on like gray banded kings. They can be a real pain in the butt to get started, but I've run across people at shows, older breeders who don't go online, but they've given me tips on how they do things. And I never would have known that had I not been set up at a show. But yeah, we're going about 7 years right now, and it's a lot of fun.
So talk about your process, like for getting prepared for the show. How do you get your animals ready? How do you get your supplies? Like, can you walk us through like that whole process?
Yeah, and it's funny because like Daytona, it's like, you know, we do shows, but Daytona is a totally different, you know, animal, and I'm sure Tinley's the same way. But you know, first I already got kind of the group of animals I'm going to take, and I don't feed them about 7 days before a show. You know, it just reduces any mess I may have in the acrylics, and it's just better for digestion. I don't want to be transporting animals if they haven't digested. So that's like the first step, just we don't feed the small stuff before we take it to the shows. I pretty much already know what I'm going to bring at that point. My large bins basically is show ready. Everything's in it, from bags, cups, extra alpha dry, paper towels, anything to clean the acrylic, everything that is related to that show is in one bin. And there's a divider, and then we keep our backup animals in that bin. I usually Daytona will bring 30 to 40 backup animals. Smaller shows will bring less. So that's kind of what we do there. And I do still leave some of the acrylics marked with the markers, because a lot of the same combos are going to go right back in there again. But everything is in one spot, so it's easy for me to remember to bring everything, so I don't forget. So basically, my one area with all my show stuff, if it's empty, everything's in the van, then I'm good. I don't forget anything that way. So we do that, make sure that our card readers are charged up. And that's one of the first things I do when I'm setting up on a Friday is get the Wi-Fi password, make sure everything's working good. Always have a backup. We have a plug-in reader on our phone as a backup. Sometimes the buildings, the Wi-Fi is not great or there's issues, but most of the time it's pretty good. Daytona was easy. Make sure we always bring extra power cord, light strip, just in case something happens. Lights are very, important to have in some of these shows. So we'll always bring a backup power strip just in case. But everything is contained. The container with my lights holds 3 sets of lights, three power supplies, 3 brackets that we made. So just everything is contained. And I just try to reduce it down to what I just need. At first, we were bringing things I didn't need, too many containers, and we've kind of scaled it down to just what we need. But everything's together in a bin. So the only thing I don't keep in there are the electrical stuff. Like I bring a Bluetooth speaker for music when we're setting up, and then my readers, my card readers, I charge those before. But everything else is contained in one container, just so I don't forget anything. It's just easier that way.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was actually a really good tip on something like it's relatively small, but I know, like, for me, like with the power strip tip that you gave me when we were in Daytona about making sure that the socket is the plug-in piece is turned the right way so you can like maximize the usage of it. Like I wouldn't have thought about that, and I would have bought the wrong one, and then I'd be like, dang.
Well, that's one of those little tips that happened to me. I bought this great 5-foot power strip with a bunch of plugins, but the power supply that came with those lights are the blocks, and when you put them, like I showed you, front to back, you miss half of the plugs. They just won't fit. So then I got another one where they were turned sideways, and it's a power strip that's much smaller, but I can plug more into it. So that just, I still use both, but yeah, that little thing like that can make a big difference when you're at a show. And once you're there, you're kind of, you're stuck. There was another breeder there this past week in Daytona, and he was stressed out. I didn't know him that well, and we talked a little bit, and I said, what's wrong? He goes, I don't have an Allen set. I don't know where a Walmart is. I'm from out of state. I'm like, no problem. I got 3 extra ones. They come with the lights, and I save them. And I gave him just one little Allen set, but it really kind of had him stressed out because he couldn't adjust the lights. He was freaking out. He had no way. I'm like, I got an extra one, so I just gave it to him. But little things like that, it's like once you get burned once, you don't let it happen again. So now I kind of got everything I need, backups, tools, and we're pretty dialed in now. I don't really have any surprises when we're at a show. But yeah, the power strip thing is something that you wouldn't think about until you do it, and you're like, great, that's not going to work. Or like taping down the power cords, because usually with a power block at the shows is well behind us. So, we just use tape and tape the cords down, little things like that. Because I've seen people literally trip over their own power cords and knock stuff down. So just, always keep removable painter's tape, easy to apply, easy to pull up when you're done. But little things like that, we just keep all contained in one container.
So before you start putting everything in the one container, did you have like a checklist?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I had a little checklist of everything I needed, and then some things I scratched off. I was like, sometimes I was just bringing too much stuff. So I don't bring as much alpha dry as I used to. But now what I am doing, and I saw some other, Steve was doing it from Steve's Morses, just getting those small compact shop vacs. And if they do make a mess, it's so much easier to clean them, especially in the corners. So we did that in Daytona for the first time. There's a rechargeable shop vac. And, in the morning, if there was one that pooped in there, just shop vac it out. And then we always keep small squirt bottles of just regular water, and then we'll clean it up with water and then paper towels and add the alpha dry in it. But that's something I've added. We do little squirt bottles now, the short ones, so they can fit in the back of my acrylics. So everything's I don't think you saw how we were set up. You know, the back of our displays are hollow, so I can store stuff. I'll stage bags and cups, everything I need there. So it's just a quick, reach away. We're not tripping over each other. Usually it's me and my niece. Sometimes we'll have a third person for a busy show, but I kind of want every display area to be self-contained. So we'll keep, spread out on deli cups and bags. So it's an easy access for everything. But yeah, we had a checklist, some things I took off, a few little things I added. But now it's just everything's in that box. If I run low at the end of the show, I'll add to it, So yeah, we're got it dialed in pretty good now.
Gotcha. How many shows are you doing per year now?
Oh, what are we doing? I think 7. We do 2 Tampas, we do 3 Tampa, 3 Orlando, and then Daytona,
Okay.
and that's pretty much it. They're all relatively close to where I live. Tampa's the furthest at maybe 2 hours. So it's all relatively close. But like I said, at some point, I'm still trying to get into Tinley and Arlington. I'd love to do those shows. I've never attended Tinley. Have you attended it?
Yeah. So I went last year in October.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the only time I went, though. It was last year. I was planning to go this year, but just because of like other commitments, I'm not going to be able to make it.
Okay.
But yeah, I definitely want to get back there like soon, though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's
I've never.
It's different than Daytona. Like there's a ton of people there, just like at Daytona, but it's a lot more spread out at Daytona than it is at Tinley.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I know friends of mine that have done both. They say the same thing. Daytona venue and location is awesome because everything, you can walk from the Ocean Center to the beach, to the restaurants, movie theaters, everything you want's there. Where Tinley is just a little different. It's not as much to do outside of the show as there is in Daytona, but I definitely want to go. Most of my friends Ven Daytona, so it'd be easy. Or I'm sorry, Ven Tinley, and I could definitely carpool. It's not a problem. It's just trying to get in there has been a challenge. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping for.
Yeah, it's definitely worth going.
Yeah.
I highly advise it.
Yeah.
I still haven't been to the Arlington show. Have you been to the Arlington show?
I have not. No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I still haven't been to that one. Definitely want to get to like one of the West Coast shows, like a Pomona or Anaheim, something like that too.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I had one of my friends went out there and he said it was cool. And I got a friend that lives in Torrance, and he said out there you'll see some different species. A lot of the guys, the tortoise breeders, and a lot of the iguana, the cyclura breeders are out there. So they said you'll see some different species versus the East Coast shows. So yeah, I wouldn't mind going out there and seeing the Pomona show, just see some different stuff. So I would be open to that.
Gotcha. And then obviously, like at Tinley, you see like retics and berms and like stuff that you won't see in Florida.
Don't see that anymore now. We used to, but not anymore. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool to see some of that stuff. I still like looking at that stuff, but I wouldn't want to go through the hassles of trying to own one again. But yeah, that'd be something different. I'd like to see that. And I know some of the big monitor breeders are going to be at Tinley as well. So like I said, I've always kept multiple species. So, outside of ball pythons, I still like looking at reptiles, no matter what they are. So I would be interested in going that just as a spectator, not a vendor too.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's nice, man. Like it's a good time.
Yeah.
If you went to Tinley, like just as a spectator, would you drive? Would you like ride with some of your friends, or would you fly up there?
Man, I hate driving, but I don't like flying. Well, it's funny because like me and Dale were talking about going to Tinley. I said, look, man, I don't like to drive. I'll feed you Red Bulls all day. You just keep driving. When you want another one, wake me up because I hate driving. But I would probably carpool with a friend, just to I know for us, it's roughly 18 hours, which to me is agonizing to think about. But
that's a long drive.
That's a long haul, man. That's just
a long time.
I know I drive 6 hours to the Keys, and when I get out, I feel like the Tin Man. I can barely move, so my knees and back would be killing me at an 18-hour drive. But I would probably ride with a friend, because if I did buy animals, and I could just bring them right back with me versus having them shipped. But I have enough friends from Florida that go to Tinley. Like last year, I sent some stuff with my friend. He brought some stuff up, and then have somebody bring something back down. Because a lot of my local friends that live within an hour go to Tinley, so I can do that. But I would probably just carpool with one of them just to hang out and talk on the way versus the. And two, if I'm going to do that, I would probably help them set up. And, I don't mind doing that. I think that would be more fun than flying in, get up there, help them set up and get prepped. And, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah. Anyway, you cut it like 18 hours. It's a long drive, but at least if you ride with the right people, you
it's
have
fun.
a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good time. Exactly.
Good road trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the hardest part like about like the show and like just getting set up for you? Like, is there anything that's challenging about it to you, or you just like it's just like another day in the office for you at this point?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was just nervous. You know, always get nervous. We always trying to make sure everything's going to work. But yeah, I think right now we've done enough of them where, you know, nothing really to be nervous about. I mean, we, like I said, I haven't left Florida, but just load in, load out. We've got everything dialed in right now. So, you know, I guess the only thing that adds anxiety to it would be if something were to happen, you know, on the way to the show, you know, vehicle breakdown or something happen in the summer and you got animals, you know, that would be like my biggest fear. But as far as that, once we're at the venue, you know, everything seems to go pretty smooth. You know, Daytona is just so much going on. We get there early to set up so we can spend time with our friends, but we've got that one kind of dialed in. We get in there early, set up early. We prep everything Wednesday night, load Wednesday night. So basically Thursday morning, I'm loading the live animals in the van, everything, and we're done. We're going over there. So we have a small window on Thursday to set up, and we're usually done, and then we can hang out with everybody, you know. So, you know, you always want to have, you know, good display. You always want to have fun. You always want, you know, people to kind of be excited when they come up to the table. And I like seeing my friends. That's the nice thing about Daytona. You know, that's the only time of year that we see people from out of state, you know, and it's like when we see them, the conversation picks up right where I left off last year, you know, and you remember the projects they're working on. Oh, I saw like Jason, you know, I saw he hashed out that OD yellow belly dreamsicle. You know, that's the first thing I said when I saw him. Like, man, that thing was awesome. You know, I saw pictures and he was excited. He should be. It was a pretty cool snake. And I try to slide it away from him, but he's going to hang on to that. It was a male too, you know. I'm like, dang, yeah, I need a male, but you know, so that's what I like. Sometimes I like getting away from the table, you know, being on the other side, walking around, hanging out with people and all. You know, it's tough in Daytona because that building's so big. You know, I mean, you got to Uber to the other side sometimes. You got another room, and you know, my niece gets mad at me because she's like, "You say you're going to be gone for 10 minutes, and then you're gone for 30 minutes." You know, I'm like, I know, but I only see these people once a year. So that's probably the hardest part for me is staying disciplined behind a table the whole time. You know, I'm looking around all the time, wanting to go see stuff, and you know, I hear about Daytona. Somebody said, "Oh, hey, did you see those lace monitors?" And boom, I was gone. I like lace monitors, so I disappeared for 15 minutes. You know, so she gets mad at me, but she's old enough where she can run everything. You know, when I'm not at the table, so that helps. The older she got, the more freedom I have to run around a little bit at the show. But that's probably the hardest part for me is staying behind the table.
Yeah, it's hard just to walk like straight one plate from point A to point B. Because you can't either an animal gonna catch your eye or you're gonna see somebody, a conversation gonna happen. Like it's just hard to get like back and forth like uninterrupted. Like that just didn't happen.
It doesn't. No, you're right. Or you, like say you see something out of the corner of your eye, and then you'll run across, like you said, a friend and knows, hey, did you see so and so's got this? And that changes your whole dynamic. Your whole plan is gone, right? And then now you're running to this side and that side. I know I miss stuff there, you know, at Daytona. I try to see everything, but I know I don't see it, you know. But yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge for me is just, you know, staying focused on one thing at those shows. Is the big shows. I'm sure Tinley's going to be the same way. It's probably going to be all over the place, you know, if I ever go up to that show. So we'll see. But
I know I missed probably a ton of stuff at Daytona though, just because I was running my mouth so much. Like I was talking to like everybody. What I don't do well is remember to take a picture with people. I don't do that well because I get like so like involved in the conversation and just like enjoying the moment that I forget all about like taking a picture. So I got to do better with that. But like I said, I was just running my mouth like the whole time.
You know, and they say if you enjoy doing it, it goes by fast, and it does. You know, when next thing you know, another 30 minutes goes by in a conversation, but it's fun. And I'm like, like to enjoy joking with people and hanging out. And, you know, a good friend of mine comes down every year. He's been in it for a long time. And I think 4 years ago, he got stung by a jellyfish in the beach. And we were making fun of him because the jellyfish got up in his shorts and stung him like where it probably really hurt. And we still bring it up. I said, hey man, that jellyfish is waiting for you, you know? And he's like, oh, shut up. But you know, every year we bring that conversation up. He knows I'm going to say it because it was funny. You know, he couldn't, and it happened, I think, on a Friday. So on a Saturday when he was in the show, he was walking kind of funny. You know,
oh, man.
He didn't want to admit what happened because a friend of his told me what happened. I was like, oh, he didn't mention that. So, you know, but those conversations, they recycle every year, you know, every year. So, I'm like you. I talk a lot at the shows, and next thing you know, 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and then the show's over for the day. So but that's just the way it goes at those shows, man.
Yeah, this is the second Daytona in a row that I didn't pick up any animals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I picked up a few racks this year. I picked up
good.
4 racks this year.
What did you get? ARS?
No, I got 2 of the 45 tub hatchling racks.
Okay.
From Chris, and then I got 2 of those 36 high V18.
Okay.
So I got 2 of those,
That's
so
good.
4 altogether. I came to pick up 3, and then he had like 1 extra of the grow out. So I was like, I might as well get it since I'm here, because like the shipping is ridiculous. So I was like, man, I'm here. I might as well just go on and get it. And I don't need it right this second, but I will need it soon. So I might as well just go on and get it now.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I think shipping costs on everything are going to go up because yellow transportation, they were one of the largest shipping and transportations companies in the country. They closed up because when we bought recently, me and some friends just bought 3 pallets of the cocoa, the Pro Cocoa, and we got in right before that happened, and the shipping costs are going to start going up. So that's a smart move. Get it while you can get it, when it's right there. Now, were you looking for a specific animal in Daytona and you just couldn't find it, or you just didn't have anything that you were really trying to add right now?
So I wasn't looking for like anything specific for Daytona. In fact, I told myself like before I went that, well, I take that back. I wasn't looking for any specific snakes in Daytona.
Okay.
I did say if I could get this one tarantula, which was a Post-Daytona vitata, that I would get that one. But you can't sell it across state lines. But I didn't know that like even like an out-of-state vendor couldn't bring it with them and sell it while they're in the state. But I guess you can't do that either because of the CITES protection. And so like the vendor that I know carries them, they didn't have any either, and I didn't know it at the time because I didn't understand like how all that worked. But now I know, and so like that was like the only living creature that I was going to buy if I saw that one. Didn't buy that, and it was hard not to buy some stuff because I seen some really nice stuff, but I tried to be like disciplined, and say, hey, I'm not going to get anything, and I didn't.
That's good. That's good. That's important. It's got to have discipline because you can get in trouble if you don't.
You really can. You really can. And I saw some stuff that I was real tempting, very tempting stuff.
Yeah, it's tough, and you never know what you're going to see there. At the shows, I'm the same way. Sometimes you'll see something that you didn't expect, but I'm like you, like you got to try to be disciplined. Now, I mean, if there was a certain animal that I needed, I didn't bring anything home from Daytona. The only thing I was close on were a couple tree monitors. There was a guy there that has some nice captive born tree monitors, which I keep tree monitors too, but I didn't. But yeah, I was like you, I was real disciplined and, try to just stay focused, because it looks like this year I'll make some of the stuff I needed. There's one snake I cannot make that I hope my friend hatches out like I talked about. But other than that, I think I'll be okay. But yeah, you never know, man. That's the nice thing. You got some of these small breeders that don't have a large footprint online, so you never know what you're going to see at a show. You might see a really good breeder. I know some of them, and they don't post much, they don't do the online thing, but they have amazing animals. So that's another key into going into these shows is you may see or connect with somebody that you didn't even know existed, but they got really nice stuff. Because I got friends like that. They don't post much, but they got really cool stuff. So not everybody does the online thing.
True. Yeah, I really want to see like what I make this year. Like it's certain projects that I know I'm not making anything in it because I don't have anything, like puzzle. Like at some point I'll make a purchase for puzzle, but a lot of stuff I want to see like what I make, see where I'm at, and then we'll probably like pick up like a handful of things like maybe early next year. But I'm trying not to pick up a ton just because like I'm producing a lot more now.
Yeah.
And so like I'm being like even more selective with what I pick up.
Yeah, that's good. And in today's market, you can do that. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you didn't have a lot of options. You got options now. Back then, if there was a male dream sickle available, it was 30 grand. If you didn't want it, there were 3 other people that were going to buy it. Now it's, you have options. Everything's more affordable. There are some projects that are still difficult to find pieces for, but now it's just a little bit easier to find the stuff than it was a long time ago. So, you can pick those combos now. When you want to get into that clown pie stuff, you can pick better combos than what was available, 15 years ago. So you can be more selective, so that's a good idea.
Yeah. Definitely again looking forward to that puzzle stuff. Like, you got me thinking about it now, man. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there was some cool stuff. I saw the hype of the Ultramel one, there. I think my friend ended up with that snake. He was looking at it pretty hard. He's got some stuff. So yeah, let me know when you're ready. I got a good connection on that. He's got some nice stuff. But yeah, I'm looking at it. I don't have anything puzzle, so I'd be starting from ground zero unless I could get some nice females, but I have nothing for it. So I'd be starting all at the beginning, and either make my own parts. I like the Desert Ghost puzzle stuff, so I'd have to start from scratch, or just see what's out there for females. I don't know what's out there for visual females right now, but yeah, that's a pretty cool project. It's been kind of under the radar for a while, I think.
Yeah. Are you talking about Barry? To get into the puzzle stuff?
Yeah. He's got some neat stuff.
Yeah. So you told me, and then someone else told me before today, like he had some killer puzzle stuff.
He's got neat stuff. He's been working puzzle for quite a while when a lot of people weren't paying attention to it. He's always got a knack for stuff that other people overlook, but he sees, the potential in those projects. And then it seems like 3 to 5 years later, everybody else kind of catches up to it, but he was making cool puzzle stuff years ago. And I know last year in Daytona, the OD Yellow Belly hypo puzzle. I mean, that snake was just phenomenal.
That's got to be nuts.
It was awesome. Like the OD Yellow Belly, it just gave it that nice rich color. It was a nice snake. It was a beautiful snake. So yeah, he's got some really cool stuff. I don't know what he's hatching now. We talked a little bit in Daytona. We had dinner one night, but we talked about all kinds of stuff and didn't even talk about that. So I'm not real sure what all he's got coming, but yeah, he's on the cutting edge when it comes to the puzzle stuff. I know he's working hypo and Ultramel, so he's got some good projects going with that.
Okay. Yeah. I heard he had some killer stuff, so I'll definitely be looking into that.
Yeah, he's cool. Did you meet him at all in Daytona or no?
I did. I think I met him like that Thursday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's tough to keep up with everybody in Daytona because we all have dinner plans, and it's just everything. I know we eat out most every night when we're there, but it's it starts off at 3 to 5 people, then it's 15 to 20. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. That's the fun part about Daytona. I think it's almost 50-50. Selling snakes is fun there, but the socializing and the networking there is just as fun, if not more fun.
Yeah, I have more fun. Like every year I go, it gets like more and more fun. So
yeah. And it will. And as more people recognize you too, that it's going to slow you down at the shows because everybody's going to see you, want to take pictures. And one of my friends is a big online personality, and he loves coming to the shows. He's like, but man, he's like, I take pictures. He's like, I can't move. I get 5 steps and somebody else take a picture, 7 steps, somebody else. So, but that's what he's built. He's like, I don't mind doing it. He's like, but it's just, I can't see everything at the show because, I'm talking to people who follow me online, and he likes it, but it's tough to make it. You almost have to wear a disguise when you go to a show just so you can see stuff, a beard and the mask and a hat. So people don't recognize you, and you can at least look at the animals, But,
wear those glasses with like the big nose and the mustache.
Yeah, mustache and everything. Just kind of look around and just, and then when you're done, then take it off and do the social thing. But yeah, you gotta kind of go undercover when you're at some of those shows, But that's a good time. I enjoy that. I mean, we don't do a lot of online, but in Daytona, we have people that come up. Oh, hey man, I follow you. We had a guy from Thailand that came up, and we communicated the best we could because I don't speak Thai, and his English was good enough. So we communicated. He'd been following me online for a couple of years, and I recognized his name, and we talked for a little while. And he came all the way from Thailand to the show, so it was cool. It was a good time. I like seeing people in person. That I've been corresponding with online, so I enjoy that stuff.
That's dope.
Yeah.
All right, bro. So I do kind of like summarize like a few things, and so like I guess let's start here. So what's next for you in the business?
Try to expand on the shows that I'm doing. I think as far as the size of the collection, I'm right where I want to be. I'm in that 80 to 120 clutch range. If I wanted to go a little more, I could. But probably would be just to hit some more shows, get out of state and just do some of that. Because as much as I talk about networking and meeting people at shows, I really don't go out of state much. So that'd probably be my next big thing is I just get out and do some of these other shows and just meet different people in some of these other places. For me, that would probably be the next, big thing. As far as the animal side of it, there's a couple projects I'm still building, but a lot of them are starting to kind of get to that point that I wanted them to be 3 and 5, 7 years ago. We got a pretty good group of animals coming online this year and then next year. So as far as the production, all that, I'm happy with where I'm at. But at some point I would have to put up a separate building, for my non-ball python stuff. So my goal would be to build a building just for just for my ball pythons, and then kind of transform my current building more so into tree monitors and some of the other species that I keep. I have a divider now, but I want to have a bigger building. So I definitely want to expand on the tree monitors. I really like those a lot. They're getting harder to come by, and at some point they may not see too many of them brought in anymore. So they are being captive bred, which is good. But that would probably be my next couple steps. Just kind of, I'm kind of topped out with the ball python collection I've got now. Just upgrade as usual, like most people are doing, but then get out and do some other shows, outside of Florida. Just meet a new set of people. That's what I'd like to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
About how many ball pythons do you have altogether? Roundabout.
Right now, as far as adults or sub-adults, I think I'm right around 180 to 200 on the females. And I'm usually maintain about 40 to 50 males. So some of those males are backups. I don't really need to have two of some of those, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I want the ability to, if I wanted to, like if a new market opened up, if I wanted to scale up and do 150 clutches, I could do it. But I don't want to do that every year. I want to keep it in that 80 to 120 range. So far, that's a good comfort zone for me. So that's kind of where I'm at. And my building is 800 square feet, so I have plenty of room for that amount of animals. I don't want to really go any bigger than that. Just upgrade the animals that I already have. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's smart too. Like to have like a little bit extra on hand just in case something pops, and then you can scale up.
Yeah, I mean, look at COVID. COVID was a good example. A lot of people, and I did it too, we kind of backed off during the COVID year because we weren't sure what was going to happen. I mean, who would have thought people would be buying more snakes, when they couldn't leave the house, but government stimulus money and people sitting there watching TV or just watching online, they couldn't do anything. So, I mean, we were shipping snakes out every week, more than I'd ever ship. So I like to have the idea of just having, even if it's just pieds, just to have a little extra there. So if, something changed, could scale up a little bit, but I wouldn't want to have to do that all the time, just kind of maintain that 80 to 100 clutch range, maybe 15 to 20 holdbacks a year of just key stuff. And then, just move the rest, because we sell stuff overseas too, we can export. So we're not really confined to just the US when it comes to sales. We can move stuff overseas. So for me, that's a good spot. I can liquidate that many animals, keep what I want, and fit everything comfortably in my building.
Gotcha. In terms of like snakes that sell at shows, like maybe outside of like Daytona, what have you found to be the snakes that sell the most at the shows?
Yeah, it's funny, like some of the stuff that people have kind of overlooked. I mean, yeah, you still sell, the snakes that are eye appealing, the bright aesthetics, of course, the albino or the pieds, the Lucy's, things like hypo GHI Mojaves, it's something a lot of people make. We sell, 2 to 4 almost every show because you just don't see them very much, just weird little niche animals like that. We made some like super OD leopard yellow belly stuff, not groundbreaking, but they're really cool looking snakes. And we sold, some of those. So usually if the new person is getting into it, they're looking for the, the brighter colors, the animals like that. That's what I'm seeing, but you never know. I mean, we've had some small, like Orlando or Tampa Repticon, and you'll get that serious breeder that'll come in. They're looking for, that high end animal. So you just never know who's going to come up to the table at those shows. It can be just about everywhere, but usually, the brighter colors, those type of animals attract the newer people into the hobby. So that's what I'm seeing anyway.
Gotcha. And so we were chatting about doing some shows like out of state too, like.
Okay.
Because originally, like on kind of like the list of shows we want to do would be like Tampa, Orlando, and maybe some of the other local shows, maybe Daytona at some point too. But what about like Georgia and North Carolina or South Carolina? Have you looked at any of those areas?
Yeah, I definitely would like to. I know some of those could be harder to get into, but a friend of mine went and did Raleigh, and he had a great show. He said it was awesome, and those are not that far away. So no, I've definitely looked at vending and getting into some of those shows too. So that is a plan as a season. I got a couple of hopeful shows I can get into, this year. We'll see what happens. But no, I've definitely looked at some of those shows because those are not really that far of a drive for me. Just some of those shows, though, they're booked up. It's hard. Like Tampa, I think, has been booked up. It's hard to even get into Tampa.
Oh, really?
So we have a standing group of tables that we get every time. But if you're outside trying to get into those shows now, some of them are sold out. So that's the challenge right now, is just being able to get tables. So that's what we're seeing, anyway. So, but no, I definitely want to hit some of those East Coast, shows.
Gotcha. So I should probably start trying to get into the show now, huh?
I would at least get on the list. Yeah. If you're going to
Okay.
do Tampa, I mean, if you're planning on doing Tampa in the fall, is that your plan, the November show?
Not this year. So it'll be January before I do like any shows. And so like some point next year, like once or twice next year, I would like to do it if I can get in the show.
Yeah. I would. The earlier the better. I don't know if they've opened up. We kind of have a standing group of tables all the time at those shows, the Orlando and the Tampa. So I don't know how early they open it up, but yeah, I would definitely watch that and try to get in as early as you can, at least get on the list. So if people back out, then, you can get in there. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. And let me know on the Tampa show if you're going to make it by then. Sometimes we have a group of 8 tables, and occasionally we'll have a spare table available, just depending on, different things. So that's always something to keep in mind too. That one, we might be able to help you out with that one, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to getting into it. Like I said, we were going to try to do like 6 shows. I don't know if it's biting off more than we can chew. But that's what the current thinking is, do like 6 shows. So that's kind of like every other month, basically.
Yeah, that's plenty of time in between shows for the animals. I got friends that hit, 12 to 15 shows. And to me, that's a lot. I'd have a hard time. I couldn't do that with my normal job. But like you with 6, that would be, I think that'd be good, good way to kind of get your feet wet in the shows and, give yourself time in between them to prepare. The animals time to feed, in between. I've never done back-to-back shows. I just think it's a lot, so I've never really done that. But no, I think 6 a year is fairly manageable. It is, I think.
Gotcha. All right. And so like, what's one piece of advice that you would give like a new breeder getting into the industry / hobby right now?
I would say, and this is something I brought up on the other podcast, and one thing that I think that to me is the biggest thing that I had to learn, some of it the hard way, and everybody, it doesn't matter how much money you have when you get into this, the size of your facility, if you don't have the patience to do it, you're not going to be successful. I mean, I've seen people jump into this thing with huge bankrolls, big buildings, and they think they want results right now. I mean, they're buying adults and they're thinking in 2 years, 3 years, it's going to be cranking. It doesn't always work that way. So if you don't have the patience to see these things out long-term, people can get frustrated and struggle. So I think that's a one common denominator that we all have, whether we have a spare bedroom with 10 snakes or a warehouse with, 3,000. If you don't have the patience for those to build those projects, you could people can easily get frustrated, with that. Cause this stuff that, other guys like, Barry and Jason and me and Dale are hatching now, this stuff was implanted, 8-10 years ago. This isn't stuff we just thought about 2 years ago. I mean, some projects, 3 years ago and it's developed, but for the most part, you got to have the long-term patience for stuff and deal with, the frustrating odds and not getting what you want. Because some people, I think if they look at it too much as an investment, they can be disappointed. Because I've had friends who were in other types of businesses and they invest and the money starts rolling in. I'm like, that can happen, but you can also got to be prepared for losses. I mean, they're live animals. Like you said, they're going to do what they want. They can be unpredictable. So it doesn't matter how much money you got, how big your facility is. If you don't have the patience to build those projects and deal with the setbacks, I think some people can get frustrated. It's a long wait. I mean, we'll wait years to get a pairing. And then if you whiff on the odds, you got to wait another year. It's not like other animals. I spoke to somebody recently and they were breeding, I think it was horses, and they got into ball pythons. And they're telling me about the horse thing. I'm like, this is totally different than, horses is. I mean, I've never bred horses, but, it's a lot different, so it's not like, dogs or cats. It's just different. And if you don't have the patience, I think would be the biggest thing that separates. I think that all of us, whether like I said, it's money, facility, whatever you got, we all got to have it, whether the smallest guy or the biggest guy. You got to have patience to build this stuff up. And then it will. I think years ago in Daytona, when Ozzy was setting up, he doesn't come to Daytona anymore, I don't think, but he was actually set up next to us and we were talking, a good conversation. And there was another guy at the table and a young kid. He's a really good kid. And he was saying it's like planting trees. You got to plant these trees now and it takes years for them to produce. But when they do, it's going to continue to grow. But you got to have that. I've seen people come in, like I said, and buy a bunch of adults, throw a bunch of stuff together and then are disappointed because they're not producing the way that they thought they were going to produce. You know, you're not going to get 100% out of every female you have. So everybody runs different. I usually run in the 70-80% range for the amount of females I breed to the eggs that I get, or that snakes that ovulate. So I'd say that's probably just the biggest thing to me is just the patience.
100%. Yeah, because you will. I mean, I ain't been in it that long, but like I've already experienced just in the little bit of time that I've been in it. It's been some highs, it's been some lows, but
yeah. And I know too, you being a Gator fan like me, there's times you feel like Steve Spurrier throwing that clipboard on the ground. Like you just don't get what you want. Like that should not have happened. How does this happen? You know, visor goes one way, clipboard goes the other. So we've all kind of been there, in our reptile room. But don't have that.
Did you get a chance by any chance to watch the Swamp Kings documentary on Netflix?
No, I haven't. I just got reminded of it today because I saw it pop up on my phone. Have you watched it?
Yeah, we watched it yesterday for the first time.
Was it good?
There's like 3 or 4 episodes, maybe even 5. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Okay, yeah, I want to see.
Like, there was some stuff they left out, but then at the same time, you probably did. If you think about it, they probably were going to put some of that stuff in there anyway. But yeah. It was good though. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I want to see that. You know, I didn't realize all that
brings
stuff.
Back some old memories, and it's funny. Like you can see stuff like they would show stuff from games, and like they would show just like stuff like that you've already seen the game, you already know how it went, but like you find yourself like years later, it's like over 10 years later, still really kind of going through some of those same emotions and just like feeling good and feeling happy and euphoric and stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely made me more ready for football season because I was kind of, I'm not gonna say I was down on football season, but like I just hadn't been as focused as I used to be like maybe a few years ago on like football season. And then this year, I don't expect us to be like world beaters or anything like that. I expect us to be better than what people think we're going to be, but I don't think we're going to be world beaters or anything like that. And so like watching that documentary though, just got me really pumped though. I was telling one of my buddies, I was like, man, like this documentary ain't doing me no favors because now I got to like consciously adjust my expectations because I was feeling like that winning energy. Like I just want to win.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of the same boat, man. It's like you're optimistic, but I think deep down it's like they're still building, you know. So I'm not expecting a lot, but you know, I definitely want to watch that because you know you and I are roughly the same age, same era. We saw that stuff, and I think I didn't know a lot of that was going on. I mean, you're more well connected to University of Florida than me, so you had a lot more insight as to what was going on. But yeah, some of that was a big surprise. But yeah, it was a different time. You know, it was a lot going on. But no, I'm going to catch that because I was looking forward to seeing it. You know, and I mean, if you were a fan in Florida, you remember everything that was going on. It seems like all Florida teams go through something. You know, the Hurricanes had their thing, Gators had their Seminoles. Always something happening with a Florida team. You know, it's never just cut and dry. There's always something.
Oh yeah, that's what makes it fun though.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, when you watch it, you definitely have to let me know what you think.
I will. Yeah, I'll see you. I'm sure I'll see you at the Tampa show, probably the next show that I'll see you at. Right?
When is the Tampa show?
I believe it's in November. Usually they do it in November, and then Orlando is December, and then they do a follow-up Tampa in February, and then in Orlando. They do an Orlando show in December, January, and then a November and February Tampa. They're pretty close, so yeah, I'll probably see you there.
Yeah, I'll definitely make it to at least one of those, if not both.
Okay.
But if Tampa is in November, it might be a conflict because I know November 4th. November 4th we'll be going to Justin's facility for like that Patreon tour.
Okay.
And then in December for sure though, I'll be in Orlando.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that'd be a fun trip. You can probably pick up a lot of good tips there. You know, he runs a pretty tight ship there. So
yeah, it'll be nice to see it. I wanted to go last year, but I had a work conflict, so I couldn't make it.
Okay.
So definitely looking forward to catching it this year. That's going to be my Tinley.
Okay, and I've never been there, but I can imagine when you leave that place, your mind's going a million miles an hour, projects and just everything going on, and you better be careful driving home. Let her drive home because you're not going to be focused on the road. Yeah, you better let somebody else drive because there's going to be all kinds of thoughts going through your head of projects and this and that. Because I'm sure you'll see stuff that you probably don't see online. So
Oh yeah, I can't wait, man. I cannot wait.
That's exciting.
It should be pretty fun.
Yeah.
So before I let you get out of here, man, I do have some wrap-up questions for you.
Sure.
And so the first one, these are random questions. So if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Ooh, that would be a tough one. Ooh, I would say one of my friends, I've been traveled a lot overseas, but he loves Indonesia. He's been all over the place. So I think because of the islands, the monitors, just such a close, like kind of like close knit, like fishing villages, I guess I would like that. I'd like to take a step away. I'd say probably because for me, it would have to be somewhere that's reptile friendly too, So I think Indonesia would be a pretty cool place. Just from friends of mine that have been there, they all said the same thing. It's really a cool country, just thousands of islands scattered out. And that would be for me nonstop exploring, island to island, and I like to fish. I like the ocean. So I think that would be probably somewhere I could disappear to and be happy.
Nice. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
All right. So next one, if you won $10 million tomorrow, how would you use it?
I would definitely have a different reptile facility than what I got now. It'd be on the hunt for property. I'd have just different enclosure. I have probably a lot of the same animals I'd already have, but it would be basically a private zoo, my own private zoo, and for my friends,
Nice.
So that's what I would have, So I would honestly, I thought about that. I was like, what if I had to hit the lottery? I'd reach out to friends of mine that works at zoos and find out, who builds all these enclosures, and I would have a zoo quality setup, for my non-ball python stuff, just for myself to enjoy. So that's what I would do for sure. It'd be animal related. Everything would be animal related for sure.
That'd be dope. That'd be real dope.
It would be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be a good time.
All right. And so if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I never really thought about that. I don't know. So inside or outside, I guess the reptile world doesn't matter right here. It just could be anybody.
Anybody. Free for all.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. I don't know. I always liked watching Muhammad Ali. I think he'd be a fun person to sit down with and talk to, hang out. Because he's funny and just, some of the stuff he's been through and the places he's traveled. Growing up in the 80s, 90s, Eddie Murphy stand up to me was always the best, man. I know hanging out with him, or Jim Carrey would be a lot of fun, sitting down, eating dinner, drinking beer, and just making fun of people. I think 1 or 2 of those guys would be cool. I'm trying to think of who else has traveled around. That's a tough one, man. I don't know. I guess if Steve Irwin was still alive, it would be cool to travel around with him without the cameras, just to see and explore and stuff like that. He put reptiles kind of on the map more so than anybody else. People, and it was weird because when he died, I service a lot of accounts. I work for an alcohol company, and a lot of my accounts, my store owners that were from the Middle East, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India, I didn't know they really watched him. I didn't know that. But when he died, like they were heartbroken. Like, oh, you watched him all the time. So he touched people all over the world, not just us or people from Australia. I mean, people that I didn't think would watch his show, people that I know were afraid of snakes, would still tune into him. So he would probably be somebody to sit down with and talk to. And I think that would be pretty cool, to without the cameras, like I said, just travel around and maybe. I think he'd be a fun guy to hang out with, someone that'd be fun to hang out with. So I guess it'd be Eddie Murphy, Muhammad Ali, and Steve Irwin.
Nice.
All at the same time. It would be a pretty interesting road trip. We were all going to Tilly together. That'd be a fun one. That would be pretty cool, walking in with those guys.
Oh, yeah, man. You'd be the star of the show.
What about you? Who would you want to sit and talk with?
So Tupac.
Okay.
Yeah, like hands down, like that's my favorite artist of all time, like for so many different reasons, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I grew up a bit Tupac fan. I've always remained a bit Tupac fan, and so hands down, Tupac. Malcolm X is another one.
Okay.
And reason being is just because I don't know if you've ever watched the movie or read the autobiography, but he grew so much in such a short time. And he was just on a completely, totally opposite side of the spectrum. And so just really to be able to pick his brain and just kind of talk about what was going through his head at these different pieces of his life, and to really be able to just drill down to some of that and learn from some of that, that would be a good one. And then who else? I've said Kobe before, but definitely my grandma as well.
Oh, okay.
So she died when I was 9 years old. She died from cancer when I was pretty young. And that was I mean, you know how it is. I mean, you can't replace that. And it's just one of those things where like I wish she would have been able to see like a lot of the things that like I wish she would be able to see my kids. I wish she would be able to meet my wife. Like, I mean, I was just like so young and it was just like way too soon. So
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because like
exactly.
I didn't really know my my grandfather well at all. Similar situation. He passed away when I was very young, you know. So yeah, I'm sure you do. You want to see the successes you've had, where you're going, everything, you know. So those are good choices. But now I'm with you. My last podcast, they were asking me about rappers, and Tupac was my first choice. I'm like, come on, is there really anybody else? I mean, I think we grew up in a good time for music in general in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you like grunge, you had Nirvana, you had to me, some of the best rap came in that era. But you had everything back then. Now I can't relate to this now. I just listen to the older rap from like late 80s to mid 90s, you know, for me anyway. So that's when
I still listen to all the old stuff, like his new stuff, like all the time. Like I become that guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny because my niece is younger, different generation, and I got Sirius Satellite in my truck, and we're going, and I have the Rock the Bells, LL Cool J's Rock the Bells on there, and I put it on there, and I'm like, this is what we need to listen to, not this other stuff. She's like, who is that? And so I'll make her listen to that stuff, you know, and I'm like, this is when rap was real rap, you know, because I like that era, you know, but yeah, now it's just I'm like, I can't listen to this stuff, man. But you're right. To me, he was a very talented individual on a lot of levels, from the movies he was in to his lyrics. You know, he was one of my favorite rappers of the time too, you know. But
and there was like so much emotion poured into those lyrics. Like it's just,
yeah. And you felt like it was him telling you that, not someone else writing it, and just him performing. You know, I mean that was him. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree. That was a good time for that kind of that music, you know. So
yeah, but, I really miss that era. That was for me
the
best era of music, like hands down. It's not even close in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know in Daytona they have the Rockville every year, you know, and to get 100 to 150,000 people to go, you know, they're not new performers. They got to tap into the old school people to go there, because that's the only performers that can fill, you know, Daytona Speedway. So, you know, I kind of look back. I mean, my friends my age were talking about that. I'm like, look back at where they have to pull these artists from, because that's where they were the most popular. You get people from the, you know, the mid to early 90s, you had everything you wanted. I mean, you know, aside from rap, if you like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, there was so many bands at the time that were doing well. And you don't have that now. Like, I don't think you could fill a massive venue like that with multiple bands. It's just different. But that whole era, you know, was a really good era for music, no matter what you like. You know, if you like country, there was probably some good country there too at the time, you know. But you know, I think we kind of grew up in a good time at least when it came to that. So
yeah, I remember feeling like you had to choose between Pac and Biggie.
Mm-hmm. It was,
yeah, I know. But you felt like you had to choose.
You did. Yeah, you did. You're right. Yeah, you kind of had to get into that too. No, you're right. You're right. You kind of did at the time. But I don't know, like me and my friends really like Tupac better. But
say again.
We always kind of like, you know, Tupac better. You know.
Yeah.
Lil Troy came on, liked him, and I just kind of like that era. You know, but yeah,
Biggie is nice though. Biggie is really nice.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of him, like when he was in his mid to late teens on the street, you know, just like freestyle rapping. It's amazing. That dude was smart, because how do you do, like, nothing was written down. He wasn't reading off anything. He was just all in his head. I could never do that, you know. But
Biggie was nice. Back then. Yeah, nice flow, like just a good voice for being like an MC. Like it was dope.
Yeah, I think that era pushed, you know, rap music into the forefront more, you know, more so. I think it attracted a new group of listeners that probably maybe weren't listening before. So it kind of did. It launched, I think, you know, rap more into mainstream, you know, with those guys. And like I said, you had him and the West Coast guys, and, you know, Public Enemy, and, you know, Florida, we had 2 Live Crew, and, you know, that was something. I remember in high school on the bus having my little cassette player with my little 2 Live Crew tape and praying that nobody, because, you know, they would take it away from you back then. But I remember that, as bad, as nasty as they wanted to be. And I remember listening to that on the bus, and we were all listening to it like, we never heard that before. Definitely not in music at all. But yeah, that was our claim to fame in Florida, was 2 Live Crew.
Man. That was good times. Yeah, because I was too young too to be listening to it, but I would definitely sneak and listen to it though.
Oh yeah, and we had to hide it from our parents. We don't want them finding it, you know. So yeah, that was something, because we could listen to, the Eddie Murphy stand-ups, because that was funny. But boy, that Two Live Crew went to a whole new level. They came to that stuff, man. My parents found out about that. They would have thrown that tape away, and I paid a lot of money for that, that cassette back then. So, but yeah,
it was such a guilty pleasure.
It was. Yeah.
I'm about to throw that on Spotify today.
Oh yeah. I still hear it sometimes, because on Rock the Bells they play some of that. I'm like, whoo, haven't heard that one in a while. But if I got my niece with me, I got to turn that one. I won't hear listen to that. But yeah, that brings back some memories of hearing that. That's what I think about being on the school bus. Having my cassette player at the time was the size of a toaster. Holds a little tape, but that's hearing that brings me back to when I was junior high on a school bus listening to that stuff. But
I didn't even really start thinking about like how explicit the lyrics were, like in some of the music I listened to. Like when I really like first like cared about it was when I had kids.
Okay.
And then like they would be in the car and I would have it on, and then something would be said. I'm like, I probably should turn this one off.
Turn that one off. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of boundaries, man. It was like,
like it was okay for me to do this as a kid, but it's not okay for them to do this.
Exactly. I know. It's definitely ironic, when I was a kid, all right, let's do it. No big deal. And I was actually younger than she is now in there. So it was, really ironic. I think about that. Well, damn, I was listening to it when I was younger, but I don't want her to hear that, but
right.
Yeah, that was fun. That was different. We hadn't heard that before. So that was a little bit shocking to hear that, coming out of a tape, but good old days.
Fun times, man.
It was
fun times. All right, bro. So this has been a really cool episode, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight. It really means a lot. Like you're a wealth of knowledge, and definitely hoping we can get a round 2 with you one day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm glad we crossed paths in Tampa and hung out, and we'll definitely do that again. I mean, that's going to be our our group's dance card now. Every time we go there is to hit that spot, all hang out. And I'm glad to be able to, carve out the time and help you out and, just kind of talk and learn. I'm here to learn too. I don't know everything. I've made mistakes, and I still feel like every year I learn or do something a little different. As I tell people, the more you hatch, the more you're going to learn, one way or the other. So, I don't never mind sharing information that I've accumulated over the years, the good and the bad. There's some things I've done I'll never do again, and some things I still have been doing for the last 20, 25 years. I still work, and I don't get away from it if it works. So anytime.
Yes, sir, man. Definitely. Every time I talk to you, it's a pleasure, man. And like
Thanks.
I say, man, I learned a ton from you. Your wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate your willingness to share.
Absolutely.
Cool. So everyone who's checking this out, as you know, this is a pre-recorded episode. So really appreciate everybody coming through, everyone who comes through and sees the premiere, or everyone who catches the replay after that. Make sure you show the channel some love, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can get notifications every time we drop a video. Be sure to follow George everywhere. All of his links are in the description of this video. Definitely go out and show our sponsors support. Show our sponsors some support. Their links are in the description of this video. Definitely be sure to check us out next week. Check us out on the audio only version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
I would say a couple things. Just keep watching Herp Collectors. You're doing a great thing. You're bringing people together that maybe otherwise wouldn't cross paths. Go to shows, talk to people, but just keep watching. You're doing a good thing. You're bringing good people on. You got a good environment. And it's good networking. Just keep watching, and just keep watching Mike. He's bringing good guests on, and just hopefully it'll help out, and everybody can learn a little bit from watching.
Appreciate it, bro. Really appreciate it. Salute.
Yeah, no problem, dude.
Thank y'all for coming out. Be blessed. Peace.